This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. A special welcome to the two schools joining us today, Marcus High School and Flower Mound High School. Welcome, and the crowd goes wild. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig, and that was a leopard carrying a scrub hare, so we are going to follow it. So, for the first 45 minutes of drive today, we're going to be dedicating the morning to the two high schools I just mentioned, all the way from Texas, America. So we're going to try and show you more of the leopard. But it's very thick here. If this cat goes into a drainage line, which is just in front of us, we're unfortunately not going to be able to follow it. So ask your teachers as many questions as you like, and I will try my best to answer them. Now I need to find the leopard. Where did you go, kitty cat? How cool is this? So I'm in South Africa right now, and we're in... Oh, there it is. The grass is also really long at the moment, so the potential of me driving over this leopard is particularly high. We're going to try and avoid doing that too. It looks like a young female leopard. I'm not sure. I haven't really had a good look at it just yet. We spotted it in the distance down on the road, and then it disappeared into the vegetation. So I'm going to call on my friends, the regular viewers, to help us identify this. You can all still send your questions in. You can hashtag SafariLive, which will be wonderful, or you can talk to us on the YouTube chat, but we'll figure out who this is. I don't know where Tlalamba has been hanging around. Tlalamba is a young leopard. How old is Tlalamba now? Yeah, just over a year. Where is this gone? Oh, there. I'm going to try and go to this corner, Craig. Yeah, like this. It's not going to be great because of all the grass. A little bit further forward. There we go. And Craig is going to use his special infrared light. That's why it's all in black and white. Don't worry, you're not back in the 70s. And the reason why we use this light is because it's a sort of light wave that we as humans can't see and the animals don't pick up either. So we don't have to shine a bright spotlight on them. But you can see she's particularly camouflaged in this very, very, very tall grass. How cool is that, though? I did not wake up this morning thinking that I was going to see a leopard. That's great stuff. So James is also out on safari, and not James, Holly is out on safari this morning, and he has got James as his cameraman, and then I think Lauren might be joining us from the Mara, I'm not sure, and Steve will be out on foot, although there is a big storm brewing currently. Oh, did you say it's Tundi? My goodness. James, really? So one of our regular viewers, James Richards, said it's Tundi. She looked so, fresh. Did she go for a facial or something recently? She looks rejuvenated. Hey, Craig? She looked very pretty. Her ears looked lovely, and she had a big, bright smile on her face. Okay, so Tundi is actually an older leopard. She's actually quite an old girl, and her daughter is Tlalamba. I would have thought carrying a scrub hare in the mouth like that might have been somebody like Tlalamba, because a young leopard who's not experienced in hunting would definitely go for something like that. But if you can have a power meal in the form of a little scrub hare, so they're these nocturnal creatures, I'm sure you all know what hares are, she's going to do that too. She probably just picked that up on the way. A little, excuse me, she picked it up at a little 7-Eleven, I'd imagine. Now she's just going to gobble that down. Well, that's quite nice, because the reason why I'm shocked that it is Tundi, because Tundi, from what everybody has been saying, she's been hanging around very far in the east and actually not spending much time on this reserve, which is called Djuma Private Game Reserve. So that's very interesting. We actually went looking for her yesterday all the way in another property called Torchwood. We thought she'd probably be around about there. So fantastic. It's good to know that she's home, because I know a lot of the viewers haven't seen her for quite some time. And she is also the daughter of one of the most famous leopards in the Sabi Sand, and her name was Karula, but sadly she's no longer with us. So Tundi is now continuing Tundi's lineage and having lots of little cubs. Hopefully she'll have some cubs in the next little while, because in January, I think it was, she was seen mating with a male leopard, so they'll typically have cubs every 3.5 months. Well, not every 3.5 months. Can you imagine how many leopards we'd have? But she should be due then. They normally have cubs every 1.5 to 2 years. Very cool to see a leopard so close. I don't think the light is going to get much better, and also the rain is coming down. So that's not ideal. Wonderful. We're going to carry on sitting with this leopard, and I'm going to send you across to the Mara with Lauren. So you're going to go all the way to Kenya now and see how beautiful it is where the sun is already rising.
Lucky leopard of the morning, huh? Good morning, everybody. We are currently in a very different place from South Africa right now. We are way up north on the African continent in a country called Kenya, in the beautiful Masai Mara. Now, many people might tell you that magic doesn't exist, but it does. You just have to open your eyes and see it. So my name is Lauren, and on camera today I have the wonderful Manu. So we have just started our exploration into the Masai Mara, and we just wanted to show you this wonderful, beautiful landscape in front of us. It's a completely different landscape from what you will see in South Africa, and the sun has just started to come up. So you can see the wonderful pinkish colours of the sky, and soon enough it will be proper daylight. So we're going to go on a journey today to hopefully find some lions, but you never ever know what we're going to see along the way. So it's important you do talk to us and you do send in all your questions, and of course we will try to answer them. So we're going to start our journey now, continue driving. It is a little bit chilly here in Kenya this morning. It is 17 degrees Celsius, which is 62 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a little bit cold, hence why I have my scarf on. But once that sun comes up, it will be lovely and warm. So here we have a very straight road that you can see in front of us, and we're just going to continue driving south and hopefully bump into the lions. But along the way, I am sure we will see many wonderful animals. Now, it's very fortunate that animals often use the roads. So you can see the road in front of us, and many animals will walk along it. And that's where we end up seeing some of them and bumping into them. As you can see, the grass on either side is very long. So sometimes it makes it a little bit tricky for us to see inside the grass. A lot of animals will also hide in that. So send us all your good luck for today. You can also tell me what you would like to see, and I will try my best to find it and show it for you. It's cold. I hope it's all warm where you are, boys and girls. I am originally from Scotland, which is a very cold country, so you would think I should be used to this. Alexa's asking a question, and I'm just going to have to get it repeated, Alexa. It's about animals on the reserve. We just don't have excellent comms at the minute. So once I get your question, Alexa, I am going to answer it as best as I can. Oh, how many, Alexa? Oh! We have one right here. Look at this. Good morning. We have a jackal. Did anybody manage to catch that? Oh, he's off. We did have a black-backed jackal. Now you see, we managed to see it on the road. And then once, oh, we've got something. Alexa, don't worry. I'm definitely going to answer your question. Just bear with us. And once that jackal went off into the grass, we completely lost it. Okay, boys and girls, we have rhinoceros. Look at that. We have 2 rhinoceros here. What a perfect start to the morning. Very unexpected. A black-backed jackal running in front of our path, and then 2 rhinoceroses. Good morning. So Alexa, we get lots and lots of wild animals out here. This is their natural habitat. So animals will move amongst it. They will come and go. And just like you saw here, we were just driving and we came across 2 rhinos. Now, rhinos are, of course, very endangered animals. They're in a little bit of trouble because some people take their horns. Now, their horns are obviously those big protrusions on the top of their nose. So unfortunately, rhinos in the wild are becoming less and less and less. So this is why it's very important that we educate ourselves about these animals and we learn to protect and conserve them. Okay, so I'm just going to go forward to get a better view of these rhinos for you. It was a little bit unexpected. Let's see more. Good, okay. Manu's trying his best to get up. Oh, look at that. So you see those 2 horns on the top of the head? That's very important that they're kept on the rhinoceros and nowhere else. Beautiful. I think we have a much younger one there. So this is most likely mother and child. Just feeding. So it's obviously the morning time, so it's time for breakfast. So that's exactly what they're probably doing, having something to eat. Now, there are different types of rhino throughout the world that you would find in different continents. There's ones that you will find in Asia, in different parts of Asia, and there's ones that you will find in Africa. And this is, of course, the black rhino. Beautiful. So you can see the grass is almost as tall as a rhinoceros. Not quite, but almost. So it's very easy to actually drive past these animals and not see them. And this is most likely what the jackal was actually running away from. Probably not us. It was probably running away from the rhino. Not that the rhino would ever harm the jackal, but it's a big animal that's probably a little bit scary. So what a fantastic start to the morning. Keep asking all your questions. It's important. But for now, I'm going to send you all the way back down to South Africa to go back to that spotted cat.
Hello again. Sorry, everyone. I'm just very quickly just trying to sneak through the bushes here because Tundi's... What have you seen, girl? I don't know if she's maybe seen another scrub hare and she is going to try and catch it. It actually kind of looks like what she's doing. She's moving towards all the small shrubs where something like a scrub hare would hide out for the day. Try and keep away from the heat. And I suppose there's so many of them around at the moment. Why would you not want to go for a little tasty snack? If she could find herself another one, that'd be great. She could go and retire and up in a tree and maybe have a little bit of a rest. If she goes all the way down to the left, we're going to leave her. I'm going to try and keep a distance from her. Now, Jennifer, you've asked about the differences between male and female leopards. Typically, it's got to do with size. So male leopards are much larger than females, almost double their size, sometimes even 3 times their size. That's why I thought when I saw this leopard initially, it was such a quick view of her on the road, and then she ducked into the thicket. I thought, oh, that looks like a young leopard, because Tundi is a very, very small female leopard. So they're not normally as tiny as she is. She's particularly petite. Let's go up to this. Okay, we're going to play the game. She's going to keep moving. It's going to be difficult to try and sort of follow her. But we'll give her a bit of space because it does look like she's intrigued by things under the bushes. And I think she's probably hunting scrub hares. So there she is. She's just hiding behind all that grass. She's very camouflaged. Look at that tip of her tail. Can you see that? That's actually what you can see. Gavin, do you know what? All animals are potentially dangerous, but these are wild animals. So we don't feed them, we don't touch them, we just observe them from a distance. Now, this leopard, of course, has become habituated to the vehicle, as do most of the cats out here. And that means they become used to our presence, and we're not food and we're not really a threat, so they kind of just tolerate us all the time. So any animal, from a bird right down to an antelope, and then, of course, lions, leopards, elephants, rhinos, buffalo, you name it, hippos, they can all be exceptionally dangerous. So you have to take care. Just because something is an antelope and potentially doesn't eat meat doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. And the most dangerous dangerous animal in Africa of the mammals is a hippo, in fact. So I always just say it doesn't matter what it is, just be careful and be respectful. Because an animal's not just going to come out and attack you. Of course, you get exceptions to every rule, but something like maybe an injured male lion or a leopard that's desperate and is hungry, yes, they might come out and attack you out of pure desperation, but that happening is, it's a very, very slim chance. So a healthy animal, unless you've cornered it, probably not going to do anything to you, as long as you give it space. Tandy, don't go in here, girl, because I can't follow you. I know this is probably your plan. Craig, I can't even see her anymore. So you just I'm going to focus on trying to relocate her because she just disappears in this grass. So I want to go round. I'm looking for that white flash on her tail because that's really going to help me find her through the long grass. Just go through here. I don't think she's come this far down. I think she's moved up a little bit. Or maybe she's come into some of these shrubs. I'm going to go very slowly here. She's going to do first gear low range. I'm going to go incredibly slowly to try and find her again. Watch your branches, Craig. Tandy, where are you? So this is how easy it is for these cats to just slip away too. How did she do that so quickly? That is amazing. I mean, we were right on top of her. I don't think she's intentionally trying to. I don't think she's trying to evade us. Okay, we're going to do loops and laps around in this area and try and find this leopard again. Or if you go to Collie, who you've heard me say his name, he's searching for some cats too, maybe even the lions.
Yeah, what do you mean? Good morning again. Oh, what a thunder day. Yes, let me get a nice spot so that I can greet you nicely. Good morning, my name is Ollie, and joining me behind the camera is Uncle James and Trishella. So our plan for today was to search for lions. We saw fresh tracks of lions. There were 3 at least. Then we've managed to follow them, but we are not successful. So what we came across is this beautiful animal over here, which is called a spotted hyena. Oh, let me move forward a little bit. So for any questions, comments, please send them on #SafariLive. We have a spotted hyena is running away from us. Oh, there's another one. Here's another one, and there's another one. It's coming out there. You can see this is a spotted hyena. It's also known as a scavenger, but this is a hunter. It does scavenge for about 40%, and then 60% it's a hunter. You can see they have short hind legs and long front legs because they have to have strength to tear apart the flesh or carcass. They're sniffing, and these are one of the graded trackers. Jennifer, do you want to know, do you see the specific animal during sunrise and sunset? Same animal during sunrise and sunset? Not in this place because we are not in a zoo. We are in a wildlife area, which is not controlled by anyone, and then you can't tell when to see during sunrise or sunset. So we just saw these spotted hyenas, but we didn't expect to see them this morning because we were following lions. We had fresh tracks. So I will try to sneak forward and see whether I will find these hyenas because it's so difficult to follow hyenas. Nothing, no hyenas. but I think I will... Oh, you see the weather there? We have a very bleak weather this morning. Nina, what is my favorite animal that I get to see? Oh, my favorite animal is the one that you just saw now, a spotted hyena. You know why? Because of their hunting strategy. And you think you will think they are dogs. They are not related to dogs, but they look like dogs. And what I love about them, it's how they hunt. They don't kill an animal like a lion or a leopard. They chase a prey until it gets tired, and then they will start feeding while it's still alive. We have a beautiful family here. This is called an Egyptian goose with young ones. They've grown. We followed these small ones while they were still very young. And sometimes they can be vulnerable because they can't see what's happening underneath this water. Remember, we have crocodiles. We have water monitors. Those are reptiles you can find in this place. These are luckiest ones to live. You can see the weather is cloudy. We have a male impala here grazing, and it seems like our lions we're following, they're not around this place, because this animal we're looking at right now, it has good eyesight and good sense of smell. This is a deer looking like animal, but it's not a deer. It's called an impala. It's a male. You can see the horns. The female, they don't have horns. Is looking around. So my search is still on. Hopefully I will find the lions for you. But for now, let's go to Lauren with one of the spotted hyenas.
Well, we haven't found the lions yet, but we do have in front of us the beautiful sun, which is rising. Oh, it is just spectacular, and hopefully it will bring me some warmth, because I am actually very chilly, and so is Manu. Look at that. Isn't that breathtaking, everybody? Now, wherever you go in the world, you will obviously see the sunrise and sunset, but you will never see it as beautiful as you do in Africa. It literally takes my breath away. Now, just a few minutes before, we actually had my favorite animal. It was walking on the road, just like I told you many animals do walk on the road. And it was a hyena. They are my favorite. You're not supposed to really have favorites, so I have many favorites. That's a better way to say it. But unfortunately, the hyena galloped off into the grass and we did lose it. But hyenas are everywhere here. They're very common. So it is possible that we might see another one as we continue on our journey. But we just had to stop and show you that wonderful, beautiful sunrise. Now, you may notice I'm wearing this lovely red thing. This is actually a shuga, and it's from Kenya. And it's just an additional layer to keep me a little bit warm this morning. And it is actually quite similar looking to Scottish tartan. In Scotland, we do have a material that we all wear, and it's called tartan. And it's also made from these lines that crisscross one another. So this is not tartan, but it's actually very similar. It's more like the Kenyan version to tartan. So hopefully I can take this off soon when it gets a little bit warmer, but for now, I need the extra layers. Alina's asking, what is the most perfect animal I've ever seen? I think that was the question, but maybe before I start going on and getting it wrong, I will just get confirmation. Pretty, oh, sorry. Sometimes we're only getting every third word. Pretty animal I've ever seen. Oh, Alina, that's difficult. Pretty animal I've ever seen. You know, I hate to say it, but it probably is the leopards. Just like the one Taylor has down in South Africa right now. They are incredibly beautiful animals. Everybody thinks they're pretty, so I wanted to be a bit different, but they are indeed absolutely beautiful animals. But I think all animals are really beautiful, and I also think that hyenas and wild dogs are really attractive animals as well. So we're just coming up to a little junction here. We're going to take a right. But that was a really tricky question, Elena. It made me think. Elisa's asking, have I ever gotten to ride an elephant, a giraffe, or a rhino? Again, I think that was the question. Maybe I should wait for confirmation again before I keep talking. I don't want to end up answering the wrong question, do I? Yes. So, riding animals is not allowed. It's not a good idea. Some parts in the world, they will let you ride elephants. But this is not very nice for the animal. Can you imagine being an elephant and having people climb on top and ride you every day, day in and day out? Yes, they're very big animals and they probably can take a lot of humans, but that's not fair on the animal at all. So out here, we're in the wild. Anything can happen. And all we're doing is just watching the animals, looking for them and watching them. We don't touch them, we don't harm them, and we don't do anything that will interfere with their lives. It's very important just to be a bystander and let the animals live their lives without touching them. So I hope that answered your question. Well, some wonderful, tricky questions this morning that are really making me think. I'm lucky I had coffee, aren't I? And I actually got a little cushion under my bottom to make me taller, because I'm a very short person, and sometimes it's not so easy to see above the grass. Lena's asking, what park are we in? Well, currently we are up in Kenya, as I mentioned, and we're in the Mara Triangle. So it's a very famous place in the world for wildlife. You can see so many different things, from lions to elephants, sometimes leopards, rhinos, so many birds, hyenas, even wild dogs. There's just so much to see here. Now, granted, you have to find it first, but it's just one of the most spectacular places in the world, and I feel very lucky to be here and very lucky to share it with all of you. Oh, that's a beautiful bird. I wonder, did I make it fly away? Yes, let me just see if I can. Oh, I think Manu is going to actually get it without me moving the car. He's a genius. Oh, hello guys, good morning. Now, it's actually not often that I pay attention to the birds here, I hate to say, because sometimes I'm so occupied with what's happening in the ground, but this is 2 lilac-breasted rollers. We also get these down in South Africa, and they're incredibly beautiful birds, and it's not too easy to see right now because of the way we're positioned, but they're very colourful. They have lilac, obviously, turquoise, green, purple, cream. They have the most magnificent, vibrant colours on their body. I think it's up to 7 different colours. So, oh, there we go. The sun is coming up and we're getting a very good look. Can you see those colours? They look very fluffy and cosy, don't they? Keeping warm on this chilly morning. And they're actually called rollers because, believe it or not, they do spectacular acrobats in the sky. and they roll. It's almost like they're sort of falling out of the sky, and they roll and they twist and they turn, and it's fantastic to watch. Obviously, now they're just perching on a branch, probably waiting for it to get a little bit warmer. So sometimes there's so much happening on the ground here that you forget to look up. You forget to look at all the beautiful birds that are flying high in the sky. So that's a lesson for me. I need to pay more attention to what's going on above. They're being very well behaved for us. Sometimes we see a bird and by the time we turn the camera, it's flown away. But these two are behaving very well. And it's so wonderful to see these gorgeous, colourful birds. Now, they feed on insects. So what they'll do is they'll stay on the branch like what they're doing right now. They'll stay high up on the trees so that they can look down and they can try and spot insects down below. So what a lovely little sighting of those birds it was. So we're going to keep driving. It's been a great drive so far, but for now we are going to send you down to South Africa to see Steve.
Good morning, boys and girls, and we do apologize for our delayed start this morning. We were designed to go on a walk, but look at the sky. There is thunder, there is lightning. It is getting very crazy out there. So anyway, we've decided to rather hide ourselves in a very nice tent where we've got very cool instruments to be able to show you some cool plants and flowers. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Senzo Mkhize on camera. And as I'm sure everyone has told you, please get your teacher to send through your questions and comments. And we're going to go inside the tent and see what we can show you. We've got a very cool little instrument that's going to be able to show you whether you think this leaf of this tree has got hairs or not. What do you think? Hairs? No hairs. I can't see any hairs. Can you see them, Sense? No. Can't see any hairs, but let's go have a look closer. Come on, inside before the rain falls on top of our heads. It is a beautiful morning. Hear the thunder and lightning all over the place. And we're going to jump down. Here is my desk. How wonderful is this? And we've got an array of bones and everything behind. Very nice place for education. So, welcome. Okay, so underneath the microscope, I'm going to take that leaf that I showed you there. Do you think it's got hairs? Let's stick it underneath the microscope. Just give it a chance to focus. There we go. Look at that. Now, if we jump onto the microscope feed, you'll be able to see how many hairs that leaf has actually got. And the hairs are designed for holding moisture and also protecting the plant against heat. Very interesting. You can see all of those sort of veins and all the network there. That is the characteristic shape of a tree leaf. You see there's lots of different angles. They move off all over the place. Very, very different from that of a grass. When we look at a grass leaf under the microscope, and I'm going to just quickly show you one of them as well, and you'll see the difference between a tree leaf and a grass leaf. Have a look at that. See how everything is long and straight. This is long and straight. That is the characteristic shape of grass leaves. We call them lateral veins and very easy to split down the center. So when we look at grasses and trees, the major difference between them is the way that the leaves actually form. But we are very blessed to have such cool technology like this because, well, we can not only look at the grass leaves under the microscope, we can also look at very, very cool grass flowers as well as flowers from some of the bushes out there. Are you ready for us to do one of the grass flowers? Senzo, I think you're ready, hey? We're going to just whip off that grass there and let's put down this very interesting grass here, which, let me just focus. Look at that. Now, this grass is called carrot seed. And look at all of those sharp little edges. It looks like Velcro. Can you see that? And that is exactly what these grasses have designed. All of these little flower heads are designed to stick in your socks and to stick in Tundi's fur and to stick in the buffalo fur and the jackal fur, and then they fall off later to be able to fall on the ground and then grow into beautiful little grasses.
Hello, Alexa. You want to know how often we examine the plant life? Every single day. But it's not every day we get to come and look at the microscope. Oh, I've got a little spider on a grass stalk here. Let's see if I can put the spider underneath, if we can get him on the camera. There, right in the front of the lens there. Let me just try and focus this for you. You can probably hear the rain starting to pitter-patter down on my roof. Oh, I've just got to move this up. It's a little bit close. Here comes the rain. Look at that. Let's just get him into focus. He looks like a lynx spider. Wow, look at that. Isn't that incredible? Now, he is tiny. He is absolutely minuscule. I can only just make him out with the naked eye. And there he is holding on to another one of our grass seeds. And there we go. Look at that. Wow. If you don't like spiders, maybe now is a good time to look away. But he's very small, and I wouldn't say he's dangerous at all. I wouldn't say he's dangerous. He seems to be living on this flower stalk itself. Oopsie. He's getting a little bit crazy. He can hear the rain coming. The rain is coming down quite heavily on our heads. How beautiful is that? Sorry about the focus. Unfortunately, he's supposed to stay still. And when he doesn't stay still, well, what can you do? He is not under my command. This is a wild animal, everybody. There we go. Okay, well, he's not staying focused, but very good. Should we have a look at another flower underneath the microscope, which I think will be quite pretty? One more flower. And to show you the difference between, look at all of the hairs again. Oopsie, I just need to focus it. I do apologize. Look at all of those hairs. Now, once again, the hairs are designed to increase sort of the surface area, just like we've got hair on our body. That helps to keep the warmth on our body. It also helps to lessen the amount of water that gets evaporated. So that's what leaves do. Leaves have got hairs, even though you can't see them with the naked eye. They almost form like a natural sort of barrier around the plant to hold the moisture and to prevent the wind from blowing all the moisture away. Now, the rain is getting quite deafening above my head. You can probably hear that. Okay, so should we move on to something else, Nina? Very good. We'll put another little grass seed underneath here. Okay, so here is... Okay, so it sounds as if the rain is affecting everybody, so you're going to stay with us for a little while, but this is what we just looked at before. Does it look as hairy? It doesn't, eh? It looks very, very smooth now, but under the microscope you saw how hairy those little flower heads were, the leaves were, and that's all about protection. All about protection. Now, let's have a look at this lovely grass seed here. See these grass seeds? Now, this is part of a family known as love grasses. And the love grasses have got a very particular shape. Jim, you want to know if the hairs are spiky? Well, they certainly look spiky, don't they? But it doesn't feel very bad to me. No, it doesn't feel very sore. But they're not really designed to be spiky sometimes. They're just there sort of a cushioning, like a lavender layer around the tree, just to hold the moisture in. Okay, but we're going to take this grass. This is called one of our love grasses. And let's see the shape. Because sometimes to identify these grasses, you've got to look right at those little flower heads there to see which one it is. So let's put it underneath the microscope. And I'm just going to get it into focus. And then we can go to the microscope. There we go, Nina. Ready for the microscope. Got a very characteristic shape of the flower head, which is, you see the shape of it there as it's in focus. It doesn't look as focused as it does for me, I'm afraid, but it's got that very kind of barley sort of shape to it. Wheat or barley. Why doesn't it look as focused, Sens? It looks fine on my screen, but not that good on that screen. That's very interesting. Okay, so that is a very characteristic shape of what we call our love grasses. Here, and you see how small those little flower heads are. They are very, very small. And that's one of the benefits of having tools like this. Sometimes we can even have this attached to the vehicle, and we can walk around in the bush and we can put the microscope right into piles of elephant dung and all sorts of other things to see how close we can get in. But Lauren's not using a microscope today. She's driving around in the Masai Mara. She's not looking at elephant dung. She's managed to find an enormous elephant.
Yes, we were driving around, and then we came across the biggest land animal in Africa. Look at this. We have an African elephant. Now, it's quite a way off in the distance. We're not very close to it, and it is just quite happily feeding. Again, it's breakfast time here, just like the rhinoceros, and it's just feeding away on all the different grasses. And you can see it's using its trunk. So the trunk is a special organ that's hard for us to actually imagine, because it's almost like an elephant's nose and hands and arms put together. So the elephant uses it for so many different things. To smell, of course, the nostrils are in the trunk, but it also can pull and grasp all those grass that it's looking at. It can use it to breathe when it's underwater, just like a snorkel. Imagine having your own built-in snorkel. It uses it in communication, to make noises, to communicate with other elephants. And it uses it for so many different things. And there's actually more muscles in an elephant's trunk than there is in our bodies. Can you even believe that? It's very hard to imagine. So you can see those big, ginormous elephant ears are actually not moving too much, because it's really not that hot yet. But when it gets much hotter, these ears are going to flap back and forth. Jennifer's asking about animals that are endangered and need to be protected. Well, you're looking at one of them. Elephants are also endangered. And the reason they are is because you see the two tusks here? Well, many elephants are actually killed so that people can take the tusks. It's made from a beautiful material called ivory. And many people want that material, which is very hard for us to understand, everyone, because of course these tusks belong on the elephant. And we actually saw, just earlier, we saw the other most endangered animal out here, which is, of course, a rhino. And I explained that because some people want the rhino's horn, which again belongs to the rhino. It is not ours to take. But many, many of the animals that are out here are endangered, which means that there's not as many of them as there used to be. And unfortunately, that is because of humans, because of us, because of people and what people do to the animals. So it's quite sad, everybody, but as long as everyone keeps learning about the animals, we can know how to protect them. Melina's asking about working with these animals every day. It's just incredible, isn't it? I feel very, very lucky to see these animals every day, and more lucky to be able to share it with you all, because many people live in so many different countries around the world that they can't always see these animals. We definitely don't have elephants in Scotland, that's for sure. So that's why I'm here, to be able to share these beautiful animals with you so that you can see exactly how it is over here in Africa. And it is important we protect them and conserve them. They need our help. They need us to be on their side and not harming them in any way. You can just see how relaxed and happy this elephant really is. We're not close, we're not disturbing it. We're just letting it feed and continue eating its delicious grass breakfast. Now, if I was to stand up next to that elephant, which I wouldn't do, just imagine if I was to, I could probably fit underneath its legs. and I wouldn't actually even touch its tummy. That's how big these animals are. Well, it has been an incredible drive from both South Africa and Kenya. I really hope you enjoyed that, boys and girls, and please do join us again. Every day is different out here. So thank you for all your questions. Some of them are very tricky and are very difficult for me to answer. So we hope to see you again here at Safari Live. So good morning everybody, and welcome to the Masai Mara, where we are currently having a beautiful view of this elephant. Oh, have we got, oh yes, we're going to have a little look at something else, I think. Oh, and lots of different antelope off in the distance as well. It's a spectacular morning this morning. But before I do forget, let me introduce myself before we go a little bit deeper into what we're seeing. My name is Lauren, and I do have Manu on camera today, and it's rather chilly, which is why I'm wrapped up a lot this morning. So do talk to us. We have just ended our school drive. It's important you send all your comments and questions to us. That's what makes the drive the drive. So we are going to continue driving a little bit ahead because we are on our way to the Sausage Republic. I love saying that. I love just saying that. And we are hoping to catch up with the Sausage Tree Pride. So we've seen a lot of interesting things along the way, including this elephant, but we are just going to continue to make headway as the Sausage Republic is not close. So it's important we actually get on our journey and get there. It's hard to get anywhere here in the Mara because you just keep seeing things along the way and you end up stopping to have a look. So we just want to get there. We want to catch up with the sausages and see exactly what they're up to, which is why we're going to speed on ahead. Now, I'm not sure of the temperature now. It probably has changed because the sun's came up, but my goodness, it was not warm this morning. Not at all. It was a very chilly 17 degrees Celsius and 62 degrees Fahrenheit. So hopefully it does start to pick up a little bit. You know me and the cold don't go. Genetically, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever being from Scotland, however. Oh, so I'm going to send you down to my favourite person whose name I still struggle to pronounce. I might actually slow the car down and try and say it. I'm going to send you down to Holy.
Good morning again. My name is Ollie, and joining me behind the camera is still Uncle James. So, my morning, it's rainy. What happened is we saw the fresh tracks of lions, but I believe now they've faded. Because of this rain, you can see over here, they went to this block and some they went out on the western boundary. So we are trying our luck to search for other lions. Maybe there might be few who are still in the reserve. But our search is not going to be as easy as we thought because those tracks were very fresh. But now we have to rely on our eyesight. You can see our roof is being installed and the canvas, it's blocking my right view, but hopefully lions are going to be found this morning. So I saw the Nkuhumas yesterday on the northern boundary. Puma. Oh. It is raining so badly, but the thing is, yes, it is raining, but Juma needs rain so badly. We are lucky we have rains, but this might mean we will have a very cold winter. Yes, because these rains are late. Oh, we have our Egyptian geese there. Oh, there's nothing. Treehouse Dam. So while we're getting wet here and looking for lines, let's go to Steve, who's dry in a tent.
Holly, stay safe out there, my friend. Lauren will eventually get your name. Holly. Sense, you can do it, eh? Holly. Oh. It's the tongue on the roof of the mouth. It's very difficult if you've not grown up in Africa. Very, very difficult. Anyway, look at the rain on the screen over here. This is what's happening off of the coast right now. There's seriously a big cyclone happening over here in the middle of the Indian Ocean, which is pushing this system all the way through. It is our summer month, so with the heat happening off of the coast, or the sun hitting directly above the equator, pumping down on us at the moment, it is causing enormous amounts of moisture and evaporation. And with these cyclone belts that happen in the Indian Ocean this time of year, that pushes all of our moisture in. That's why along the west coast of Africa, or South Africa should I say, we are getting a very nice sort of, let me just zoom in there, get very nice sort of summer rainfall. You see it's all moving across the south here, enormous systems happening in there. I can't tell you exactly where it's falling, but we are over here somewhere in the middle. Very good. Well, everybody, I found something on Bushwalk the other day which I found super, super exciting. It is from one of the wasps, a potter wasp. This was attached to a tree at some stage, but it has fallen off. The tree was probably there, and it's fallen off. We found it on the ground, so we didn't disturb it, but you can see there's a couple of chambers inside. But what I find very interesting is the weight of this individual piece of clay, and it really is heavy. I mean, considering the size of it, and considering that a wasp made this with its mouth, it went to a muddy wallow, picked up grains of mud and sand, and took it back. Now, that is a very elaborate process. Pick up some, fly back. Pick up some, fly back. So we're going to put it under the microscope to show you what some of these grains look like. Just give me a chance to focus it there. It's really nice to see the colors. Oh, and there was a termite just ran across the screen. Where did you come from? There we go. And now you can see, if we jump on the microscope, you can see all the little different bricks and stones that have gone into the construction of this chamber. Look at all of those sandy particles. Now, in all soil you'll find different crystals, and the makeup of the crystals is obviously derived from the parent rock, and a lot of these are quartz crystals. There's probably some mica in there, but the vastness of them is quite awesome. So what we're going to do is, for scientific purposes, is we're going to cut this open today to see what's actually going on inside, because this type of wasp, these potter wasps, actually form these enormous galls. You call them a gall, I suppose. It's pottery makeup, and then inside there are a number of caterpillars and spiders that have been injected or stung, and then eggs laid on top. So for scientific purposes, we're going to open it up. I hope you don't mind. Just going to put it on my book here, and we're going to come back to us in a moment, and then I'll remove this from the microscope. Whenever you're ready, Nina. Okay, are we ready? Very dirty. James is going to be upset with me for dirtying up the tent, but all of that sediment there is quite incredible. Oh, there we go. Not too much going on. How disappointing. So it's possible that this one never even got fully fledged off of the ground. There's a whole lot of organisms here that possibly didn't even survive. The problem is with these wasp galls is if they don't stay in situ in the tree where they're supposed to be, they fall on the ground. They maybe get the wrong heat, they get the wrong sort of temperature, they maybe get a bit too moist. But there was some form of sort of it looks like a larvae over there that didn't come to fruition. So it's possible, I mean, often these potter wasps will build them underneath sort of an overhang or underneath a branch where they don't get full sun. They're able to sort of escape the heat of the day, but you can see how many little chambers there are in here. So each of those chambers will actually get filled with either caterpillars or spiders, each one injected by the adult, and then a number of eggs laying inside that chamber so as to grow off of the caterpillars or spiders that have been sort of laid there. And they are called parasitoid wasps, which means that the larvae will actually grow inside the larvae of the caterpillar spider before growing out completely. Nina, mud wasp, potter wasp, very similar, I suppose. I mean, they create this pottery sort of thing, so I think that's the same as a mud wasp. I think it might just be two different names. Taylor's just joined us at the back there. Mud wasp, potter wasp, same thing. She's doing the maybe yes. Taylor's looking very wet.
I'm dry now.
Okay, Taylor's dry now.
5 minutes ago.
Let's say good morning to Taylor McCurdy, who has just joined us. Whoopsie, joined us in the tent. Hi Taylor, have you brought us some coffee?
No, I was very...
What's your shoes? Sorry Taylor.
Okay.
Okay, well she survived.
They were wet already.
She is very wet. The thunder and lightning has come down, and it is probably going to be like this all day long. But you got Tundi.
Yeah, and she gave us the slip.
Okay, well, it's fine.
She's probably made a kill now.
So everybody, those of you who were worried about Tundi not being around, she's back, and she was just here in the heart of Djuma. So where she's come from, that's what happens these days. These leopards come and they go. Well, anyway, we're going to jump back in. What else can we talk about here? Okay, well, I'm going to try and clean up my mess over here, and clearly it didn't survive. They weren't working, so we didn't disturb too much. But while we clean up our mess, let's go back up to Lauren, who might be looking at her first ever wild ostrich.
And this is exactly why we're not able to get anywhere in the Mara. Look what we've came across. You have no idea how excited I am right now. We have a whole flock of ostrich. I am absolutely blown away. I was actually asked a question yesterday about animals that I hadn't seen yet up in the Mara, and I completely forgot about the ostrich because there is so many on my list to see, and I have no idea how I managed to actually forget about these amazing creatures. I didn't even realize what they were. It was Manu that said, yes, that's ostrich. Can you believe it? Now from here I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. Yes, 7. Just all in the perfect line away off in the distance. And wow, this is a very, very exciting moment for me. They are just huge, as I'm sure you can see, but actually when you see these animals in the flesh, they are just mammoth. The non-flying birds of the Masai Mara. So seeing these ostrich here is just a phenomenal moment for me. They are obviously much common here. Apparently there is one that actually roams around in Djuma, but I don't believe it's been seen for a while, and I personally have never seen it. So of course up here is the perfect environment for them. Now, they can actually generally spend time alone or in pairs, so it's fantastic that we're able to see a flock here of 7 different birds. Sophie's asking, can I ride one? No, unfortunately not. As hilarious as that would probably be to actually watch, no, not at all. I think people have actually ridden these birds. I think I have seen something like that floating about the internet, but absolutely not. There's a huge, very interesting topic of debate that is going on right now with the sort of conservation environmental world about riding animals, and obviously elephants is right at the top of this controversial debate because it is something that is very common in the world of tourism right now, and it probably brings in a lot of money and revenue into various different aspects and different economies in the sort of slightly poorer countries around Asia. However, it's obviously not good for the animal. And although I can just imagine sitting on the back of an ostrich with reins and soaring through the grass of the Mara, it sounds ideal, but absolutely not. Due to the sheer size of these animals, there is actually a potential that they probably could support our weight and it wouldn't affect them much. I do believe they can run up to about 70 kilometers per hour. I'm really not sure how to convert that. I'm getting better at my conversions, but when it comes to speed, I'm terrible. So yeah, 70 kilometers per hour is pretty fast. That's the national speed limit for the city bypass in Scotland. So Francis is asking what they're feeding on. Is it grass? Well, the diet of an ostrich actually comprises primarily of plant matter. So most likely here, yes, they are feeding on the grass. And that's why they're sort of bent over like that, getting their breakfast, using their long necks. It's quite bizarre when you see them without their heads, actually. They just look like sort of, I don't know what they look like actually, just brown circles, and then you see the head and neck pop up. So yes, primarily they do feed on plants, but they do also eat invertebrates. So that will include your many different insects. So they may be plucking an insect or two off the ground here, but this flock I genuinely believe are feeding on the grass. Ravindra's asking a question. Do these ostrich something? That definitely wasn't your question, Ravindra, so I am going to wait until it is repeated. But don't worry, I've heard it, and I am going to get back to you as soon as I do hear that. Oh, frogs! That makes sense. Yeah, sometimes I'm just better not guessing, because when I guess, then I just go in a completely different direction. Frogs. Now, in this environment, I actually don't believe they do, but it is very possible. Small little frogs would be potentially probably edible by these birds, but from what I know, they primarily feed on plant matter, and they will subside that with insects. So I'm not sure about frogs, but it is entirely possible. Now, the bigger frog species, like the ones we do get in Juma, definitely not. Definitely would not feed on the likes of those. But the very, very small frogs, I guess it is a possibility. But they are primarily vegetarians. It's just incredible looking at the horizon here. The sun is now up and you just see a line of ostrich. Snassy's asking, do ostriches eat rocks for digestion? Now that is a very, very interesting point that I have not personally heard of. Now, oh, actually they do, don't they? Yes, my brain has just kicked into gear. I believe, now I could be wrong, so please do bear with me, but due to the fact that they actually lack teeth, of course they just have the beak, they don't have teeth, so they're not able to chew things, which would make eating a frog incredibly difficult. They are known to actually swallow bits of gravel, so not necessarily rocks. I was initially envisioning huge big rocks that we see on the road here that they somehow manage to swallow. So no, they don't actually swallow rocks, but yes, small bits of gravel they do. So you are correct, well done on that one. And that just helps them grind their food, because obviously it's very difficult if they're swallowing insects and they're not able to sort of crunch it up in their mouth before it reaches their stomach. So I do believe they can actually carry up to 1 kilogram of gravel and stones in their stomach at one time. 1 kg, can you believe that? That is wild. So yes, they do swallow gravel. Sorry about that. So for now, we are going to let these flightless birds be and try and continue to get our way to the destination that we are heading. But we are going to send you down to Tolly and see what he's up to.
Lauren's so lucky this morning, getting all sorts of beautiful animals, but I'm not lucky. I'm from a hyena den. Nothing. Sure, the cubs are keeping it warm in there, and their parents went out for getting some milk. maybe a carcass or a keel, who knows? And their pool is getting full there because they have this special den I've ever seen. There's a bird on top there, but the thing is, our roof it will give us a problem because it's compromising our view. Do we get wild mushrooms here? Sally? Yes, we do get wild mushrooms, but I'm not quite familiar with their words or names. Trishala has been reading a lot about mushrooms, hey? She's getting obsessed. But what I know about mushrooms, do not try to eat them. They are good mushrooms, they're edible, but they are bad ones. You have to know which ones are good, which ones are bad. You have to be well experienced to pick one up. And I've seen the biggest mushroom here. It was this big in this place. In Juma, it was this big. It was the biggest mushroom I've ever seen. And there are these ones that are growing in our camp. I don't know, they grow this big and then they're scattered everywhere. They're nice, good looking. Oh, this rain is compromising our search. But hopefully we will see the artifacts. Remember, they're not only active during the night, they can come out in this weather. The pangolin can come out. Let's cross fingers. We'll get there. Who wants to see a pangolin or an aardvark? Send your answers to #SafariLive on Twitter. Or only have the droppings, elephant droppings. I can't tell whether they are fresh or not because it's raining, they're wet. There's a bird singing there. This roof is compromising our view. Steve, you would love to see an aardvark. Yes, I also love to see an aardvark. Last time when I went out with Malum James, we saw fresh diggings of an aardvark. We saw fresh diggings, and it gave me hope that one day I will see an aardvark. You hear that bird? I call it a pygmy bartley because it's the smallest bird, long, decurved beak, and a short tail. But it's called a long-billed crombec. So for now, while we are searching and searching, looking for tracks or any luck, let's go to Steve in a dry tent.
Thanks, Carly. You keep up with the magnificent bird calls. I just love his birding whistles. I took him on drive yesterday afternoon. I went and just did a birding experience, which was very, very cool. Any of you seen the SafariLive story with James and Carly? If you haven't, you need to have a look at that. It is brilliant. But anyway, I was just having a little look in my book, the difference between potter wasps and that of mud daubers. And there is a slight difference. In fact, the mud daubers seemingly don't only use caterpillars, they mainly use spiders. So let's have just a little look here. These are the potter wasps that I have over here. They seem to make much smaller sort of chambered areas. There's the wasp busy right now, busy building that. Now all of that is created or brought from a muddy wallow by its mouth, and then designs it around into this beautiful round cylindrical ball. And then, if you can see at the bottom here, they then provision it with caterpillars, which are then stung. And the caterpillars are depends on the size of them, but the eggs are laid dependent on the amount of spiders or caterpillars inside, and that is exactly how they provision. So if I turn over the page, then you'll get the mud daubers, which actually make much bigger sort of multi-chambered areas, but the spiders, the the spiders. The wasps themselves have a number of similarities, but all being parasitoid. These guys seemingly only put spiders inside, but when it comes to the other wasps, potentially spiders, other insects, and they're always their favorite caterpillars. So with a little yellow dot on the bottom, a very good indicator that this is an animal you would like to stay away from. You can see on the bottom left as well, there's another one. You also want to stay away from him because they will sting you and it'll be quite painful. But they are naturally very aggressive, these spider hunting wasps. But if you do get too close to them, they will sort you out. So you can watch them from a distance, and if you don't make too many fast movements, just like a snake, I suppose, they'll think you're not there and they'll keep going on about their business. But incredible the size of some of the spiders they can carry. I've seen a spider hunting wasp carrying a baboon spider, which was much, much bigger than he was. The baboon spider lost that battle, which I find quite incredible how quickly these wasps are able to sort of subdue their prey. But out here in the wilderness there are many, many food items, and can you imagine being injected, going into a coma, tucked away into a mud sort of ball, and then just waiting for something to eat you alive? That's something from the horror movies, isn't it? I think Stephen King's probably written a book about that. Sense, don't you think? Imagine that. You're alive and you're just getting eaten on the inside. So that is what a parasitoid is. We talk a lot about parasites, and parasites are generally smaller than the host and they don't kill the host. But a parasitoid is something that is much smaller than the host but ends up killing it. So the eggs of many wasp species are laid on spiders or in spiders or on caterpillars, and they'll grow inside and go through their entire life cycle inside of that growing encomed animal and then come out as a fully fledged wasp. Well, it sounds like Taylor McCurdy has managed to get her roof on. I think she's going to be back out in the wilderness. Let's go and see what her plans are.
Yeah, we've done quite a few things. We've been soaked, completely soaked. We got our roof on and we couldn't leave camp because it was raining too hard to kind of go anywhere. So, yeah, we're trying to dry off. Craig and I changed clothes because I poured fish out of my shoes. There was so much water in there. Now we're going to try and stay dry. And also the lightning was pretty hectic around camp. So that's why I went to visit Steve in the tent to see what he was up to. So yeah, so I don't really know what we're going to do. I wanted to show you a gymnogene, but because we've got the roof on, I couldn't show you anything at all, unfortunately. It's just impossible trying to position to get you that bird. So birding is out today. I have absolutely no idea what we're going to look for now. Maybe Tandy will come back. Maybe some animal will, well, pop out, but who knows? I forgot how much fun it was to get stuck out in the rain. Sandstar, I think the question was something about, are there more animals that are active during the rain? Did I hear correctly? I think so. Yeah, you'll start to see things like millipedes come out. I don't think they're active intentionally, though. I think maybe their little burrows get a bit of water in and then they've got to come out. Then things like tortoises, I've already seen tortoises. I saw Gregory. Gregory came back, which was quite nice. If you don't know who Gregory is our beloved Speaks Hinge tortoise that lives at Wild Earth, the Jima camp. It's also a girl, though. Gregory is not a boy, don't be confused. And Gregory has not been seen for a long time. She's come from, I don't know, a million miles away. Jerry, our producer, she's been desperately trying to leave a trail of food. So Jerry, if you're sitting in final control, I did send you a message. Go and find Gregory. She's starving. We're naughty. We do give Gregory a few treats every now and then. So she's back. She'll probably come into camp and see if there's anybody there. Then, like now, this is a good time for hunting for animals. So in the Mara, we used to see more hunts during the rain than anything, or when it was exceptionally windy, and that's because it muffles sound, so animals can move around, or the predators can move a little bit easier without having to worry about making too much noise. So yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised now if Tandy's gone out and she's maybe killed something like a steenbok or a duiker or an impala, but I don't know where she went. Classic Tandy. You know, we love to hate Tandy because she's fantastic when you see her. She's really like pretty relaxed around the vehicles and but she disappears like no other leopard. And it is so frustrating because you can only have her for like 2 seconds and then she's gone again. She does this to everyone. So that's fun. So yeah, so we're just going to bumble now and see what else we can find. Home, Paula. Ravinda, nocturnal creatures that come out when it's raining. I don't think we're going to see an aardvark out, that's for sure. I think they're probably going to stay tucked away in their nice warm burrows. There's lots of birds, but I can't show you any of them. They're all sitting up on the tops of the trees and tops of the dead trees. So right now I don't think we're going to see much in terms of nocturnal critters. I think they've all tucked themselves in for the night. It's the diurnal animals, they're going to get all super wet. Maybe you'll see something like an owl perched on in a tree somewhere. But I don't know. Right, before the bird flies away in the Mara, off you go to Lauren, who is having better luck than we are down here in South Africa.
So we're still on our way, we're still making our way to find the sausages, but we couldn't help but stop and look at this beautiful woodpecker. Now, I didn't actually see too many woodpeckers in Djuma, actually. They're not such easy birds to spot, but here we've managed to come across one. Oh! And do as birds do and fly away, of course. There's absolutely no other way to be a bird on camera if you're just going to fly away when we come to you. Oh well, never mind. I was going to tell you a little bit about woodpeckers, and I still shall as we continue on. Since it decided to fly away, it got a bit camera shy there. Now, of course, woodpeckers are famous for drilling their holes in the trees, and you can actually hear them from quite a distance away, which makes it a little bit easier to spot them. And they just fascinate me. I mean, imagine just banging your head constantly. That even gives me a headache just doing that against a tree. And of course, they're designed that way. They have all the adaptations to protect their head, to protect their body from doing any damage. But still, can you still imagine banging your head at that speed against a tree all day long? Now, they have a special hinge on their neck where it attaches to their spine and their skull. It's a special hinge that allows them to be so flexible with their head, and of course within their skull there's lots of protective cartilage pads, so that absorbs all the shock from their brain rattling around in their head, which I cannot imagine is a pleasant feeling. And of course their beak continues to repair itself, so as they're sort of drumming their beak into the tree, naturally at the tip is probably going to wear down a little bit. So the beak continues to repair itself to keep it nice and sharp and strong to be able to drill. So we're on a track at the minute, but it has been a bit marshy. I did sort of have a few gulps in my throat, like thinking, oh goodness me, today is not going to be the day that I am going to be a marshmallow or join that marshmallow club. But luckily it's very sunny here, not like Djuma, and the ground is pretty much dry. A few wet marshy patches, but other than that it's pretty much dry. So we're sort of going way into the wilderness to look for our deer sausages. And of course, as you know, this will be my first time meeting the Sausage Tree Pride, so I am extremely excited about this. So of course we are going to keep looking. I've got my expert eyes on the back of me in the form of Manu, and while we do this, we're going to send you down to Toli.
Antelopes are hiding, birds are also hiding, but you can hear their calling. But what I wanted to tell you about is this thing right here. We are not lucky yet with the tracks. We went to our last tracks, but we didn't see them because they were washed away. Trish, can I have my bird book, please? My bird book. I wanted to show you something. Yes. we have the turacos. Oh, what are the chances of my Jeep getting stuck in the mud? Not really. They are low because it's not raining that much as it looks, because it's not too wet. You can see the road is still good. And I have this. I know I have this old Jeep, but it's making my life easier. Yes.
Are we ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Alume, we have the turacos here. Turacos and Ellis. And see, we have a grey Galway bird, a nice Turaco, Livingstone, you name them. But what we normally see is this one, which is called a grey Galway bird. It was once called a grey lorry. It doesn't fall in this Turacos family, but it's so confusing because they nearly look the same. Why it doesn't fall in their family? It's because of the coloration. You can see it has this gray color and it lacks the green and red color. That's why it's not called a Turaco. A Turaco, it's talking about a Turacin. It lacks a Turacin. A Turacin, it's a red pigment that you can see over here because they all have red pigment. You see? So this one doesn't have a red pigment. And then it also lacks a Turacovidin, which is the bright colored pigment you see in birds, which is the one you see in all these Turacos. So that's why it has its own specific group. It's amazing, hey? It's not like it's been discriminated because of its coloration or what. It's because they look very different when it comes to color, but nearly the same design. Yes, nice one. Hope you've enjoyed that. Let's push forward. So, I won't give up. My mission has just started. But for now, let's go to the driest place in the reserve.
Come on, Holly, find us a spotted cat or a lion. That would be awesome. Well, Holly is definitely getting into his birds these days. He's really, really enjoying it. Now, one of the questions came through on Twitter just now about, do all wasps make their nests out of mud? And no, they don't. Actually, there are many, many wasps that actually dig them in the ground. They'll actually do a proper hole in the ground, and then they'll go in. They're called sand wasps. You also get some spider hunting wasps that will also dig a very nice hole in the ground. Those, to me, those spider hunting wasps, if you get too close, they can get quite aggressive and try to chase you around. But then the paper wasps, they actually go and they scrape plant fiber off of plant material, and they mix it with saliva, and then they make these wonderful little paper wasps, paper nests, which is this over here. And there's many, many different species of these paper wasps, and that's just made out of fiber and cellulose created from their saliva and the plant material. And with these, each chamber has actually got a little larvae inside, and that is then fed by the adults. They're not parasitic the way that the others that we've been talking about are. These are actually fed just like birds would be in a nest. And here you can see a very nice image of the paper wasps down here busy begging for food, just like a nestling would be from the adults. Very, very nice to see at the bottom. They're a very strange looking valve-like organism, which then metamorphosizes from the larvae into a pupa and then out as a fully fledged wasp. Can you believe that one day that will look like a wasp? Very, very cool. So that's not only out of mud, and then also we've seen many, many times the Mopani bee, or the Mopani wasps, depends on what you want to call them, a stingless wasp, and they make out of this beautiful little nectar. They actually create this, and I know we used to have one in the tent growing out of the giraffe skull, but this little tube is actually put down by honeydew that they actually create, and it comes from the food that they eat, the nectar, and they use it for creating the nest that they live in. So many different types of nesting and places for these organisms to live in, and some of them are solitary, some of them are communal. It all really depends on the family that you're looking at, but very cool looking at the Kim, you like the hornets. I'm not sure if I got that, the color of the hornets. But when you look at, once again, here is a mud wasp. I see the colors are red and black. Quite easy to see when they're flying. They often have their legs dangling down. Some people will call them hornets. Some people call them wasps. What exactly the difference between a hornet and a wasp is, I'm not actually certain. But quite often you'll find them flying around with these long yellow legs, and people call that a hornet. A little bit more easy to see than a wasp. Some people say wasps are communal. I don't really think there's a difference between the two. I think it's just a name. I can't think of it now, but it's just a name. But often you'll find them individually doing their thing. Well, we're going to go outside. It seems like the rain is starting to stop. We're going to go see if we can find any other small little interesting things for you. Because, well, who knows what comes out after the rain. I was looking for some insects to try. Oh, hang on. I had something I wanted to talk about. After opening up that mud wasp from before, if you'd like to go to the microscope, I'm looking very closely at what's going on with those carcasses that were inside the nest. And you can actually quite easily see on the microscope these old little dried out Mapani worm-like organisms. So these were most certainly caterpillars that were put inside of this nest, provisioned for, no doubt, for the larvae of the wasps. I don't know how far the wasps got with their growth. There seems to be some silk, there seems to be some sort of pupa created around some of those individuals there. They most certainly are dead. It's a very good chance that this thing overheated, so it fell on the ground, and whatever wasp larvae were doing their thing inside, trying to be secured from the weather, from the heat, probably over expired inside there, and this is the remainder. We can't really see any wasp in there, but as I said, when the wasps are still larvae, they are very strange looking indeed. But these most certainly do look like a couple of caterpillars that were put inside. And reading up a little bit more about the sort of potter wasps and the mud wasps, is they'll generally put one egg per chamber, which obviously then that chamber will be designed to fulfill the role of providing for one entire new wasp. And so they'll fill that with as many food sources as is required, be it spiders, caterpillars, or even other little insects that will find their food. And I find that amazing. It's the first time I've ever looked this close into the nest of a wasp and to see exactly what's going on with regards to the food. And wouldn't it have been amazing if we'd opened and we actually saw the larvae still in action? Although it might have been a bit strange for the larvae to have itself revealed, but thankfully there was no one alive when we did so. Okay, Sense, should we jump outside and get our feet wet and see if we can find any more information? Okay, very good. Well, when the rains come, it's not only ourselves who like to move and get our shoes wet. Tortoises come out in abundance.
Leopard trying to stretch itself in bushes there. Yes, of course, a leopard tortoise. But it's well camouflaged there. You can see, if you can see in the middle of your screen there, it's getting in there. Yes, that one. It's well camouflaged. They get to be active this kind of a day and weather. They love the rain. And I've learned recently that their chicks can, their babies can sorry about chicks. Kel James is laughing at the back there. But the hatchlings, they can wait until the favorable conditions where they will dig themselves out of the nest. And that can take up to a year or year and a half. That's amazing. And just imagine they will be down there. I don't know what are they going to be eating. and this is very old. But I was confused when I started here with the size of these leopard tortoises, because where I was studying in the Eastern Cape, which is the province you find in South Africa, we have these huge leopard tortoises. So, and comparing the size of those ones and these ones, way different. So I thought these are the youngsters, and they said, no, this is old. It's so lucky to survive until this age. Oh, and they have a nice breeze. The rain has stopped a little bit. And we can see the patches of the sun, light somewhere there. Let me move forward. Maybe I will see a real leopard. Maybe Tingana? Who knows? Because they have to mark their territory. So hopefully I will find a leopard. But for now, while I'm searching, let's go to Lauren in the Mara.
Okay, so both Manu and I have something very important to tell you. Shall I? Manu's already laughing. This is how important it is. So we disappeared for a while there, and we actually tilted the camera so that FC could not see, because we got completely and utterly stuck. I do not know how it happened. We just went into a puddle and the vehicle would not move for a very long time. So Manu jumped in the driver's seat and somehow managed to get us out. But yeah, that was very highly entertaining. We maybe should have actually kept the camera on so that FC could get a good giggle at us, but we were well and truly marshmallowed. I'm laughing at myself here. It was slightly terrifying. However, Manu got us out, so we're still not part of the club officially yet. But whew, what a morning. So we haven't actually made much progress since you last saw us due to not moving at all and being completely and utterly stuck. But we are well and truly into the sausage marshmallow queen. No, not yet. It was a little bit of a sticky situation, literally, but Manu got us out. I don't know how he did it, but it was very entertaining. So we're well and truly into the Sausage Republic now, and we've passed the area where we did see, well, I think their pride was last seen with the cubs. So no luck yet, but as I mentioned, we haven't made much progress because we were rather stationary for a while. So it's moments like this that I'll never forget. Second day in the Mara and already getting a little bit stuck. So we're driving incredibly slowly here, just in case there is some flat cats in the grass. That's the tricky part, if they're lying flat. Yes, remember, Lauren, you're not stuck if you manage to get yourself out. That's correct. Thank you. I wasn't sure who actually said that. I just had a little bit of comms breakup. But exactly, we weren't stuck. We were just not mobile or able to go anywhere for a short period of time. But now I know how Taylor felt back in those days, because it's not a nice feeling when your wheels are spinning and you're going absolutely nowhere. So Taylor is still the Marshmallow Queen. She still holds that crown. I am not yet stealing it off of her. Thank goodness for that. My heart rate's slowly going down, which is a good thing. I think Manu's still laughing. It was very entertaining for him. Now, sausages, where are you? I need to meet you. Okay, we're going to go back. Manu, I think he's spotted something. So obviously, as you know, this is my second day in the Mara, and it just still, the landscape is just so vast compared to Juma. All good? Oh, okay. It wasn't what he wanted it to be. He still sees something. I'm just going to turn off and let me have a look with my binoculars. Aha! Okay, so we're still going to search. We have obviously got some buffalo and antelope ahead, but we're going to keep on our search for the lions. And we're going to send you down to the real Marshmallow Queen.
We're also searching. I just spoke to Tuxon, who is a safari guide at Juma, for those of you who are new. And I'm actually trying to find the lions because I'm not looking for Tandy ever again in my life. Tandy can just do what she did this morning and just arrive if she wants to be seen. So I am going to be trying to use this silly game drive radio to try and get hold of the guys in the east, because Tuxon had said to me something along the lines of that there were lions. He heard something about lions. So we're going to try and get a little bit closer and figure out what's going on down there. I'm not the marshmallow. 7,000 people have been stuck after me. I was the Marshmallow Queen in 2017. Long time ago. Definitely not still the Marshmallow Queen, that's for sure. That time I fell face first in the mud is at least a year old now. A year old. Right. We're probably going to lose signal around here. It's not a nice area, but are going to have to keep going to Chitwa. No rain, stop. It was just stopping to rain. Now it's starting. Wonderful. Keep going. The rain can keep them away.
Taylor doesn't want to be the Marshmallow Queen. I'm sad. Who wouldn't want to be a queen of some sort? Now, yes, she is right. Thousands of people do get stuck. It's not an easy terrain to navigate, I tell you that. Especially when you're also trying to look for animals and your eyes are not always 100% on the road. But Taylor did manage to get stuck in such a manner that even when she jumped off the vehicle, she herself face planted into the mud and got stuck. So for me, that's still the absolute winner. That is still absolute queen material right there. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It is probably the most entertaining clip I have ever seen. And I still watch it to this day and it makes me chuckle. Now, of course, in the distance here, we do have buffalo, the Sausage Tree Pride's favourite meal. Now, they are very, very far away, and Manu actually thought he did see a lion, which is why we stopped. It turns out it's not, but it definitely wasn't a bad shout to stop, because, of course, this is exactly their favourite meal in the entire world. So they are very far away. Look at that. Look how vast that landscape is. The buffalo are miles away into the distance. Just look at that. I don't know if I'll ever get used to that. And both Manu and I were actually just discussing about eyesight. So, having spent so much time at Juma, you get used to thick vegetation and looking in a certain way and being able to pull out a leopard because your eyes have adjusted. Your eyes have sort of learned exactly how to gauge depth and gauge distance in that environment. So Manu said even if he himself went to Juma, he would struggle because it's completely different from this environment, which is very vast and very open. So my eyes are definitely still adjusting here, and they absolutely will. But it just takes time to get used to looking at a completely different environment. And even when you go underwater, I worked underwater for many years. I was a marine biologist for about 7 years. And I used to point turtles out to people right in front of them. And they would say, but where? Where? I can't see it. And I'm like, right there. There's a huge turtle. But where? There. And they just could not, their eyes just could not grasp that there was a turtle in front of them. So it is entertaining, but it does take your eyes just a little bit of time to adjust. So that's what we actually were discussing. So the buffalo are really, really far in front of us that way. We just thought we would stop and have a look. But we are going to continue on and, of course, not get stuck. That was just a blip because people have been talking about it. I've seen some people talking and anticipating Lauren getting stuck. That's why it's on my mind. So while we look, we are going to send you to another beautiful lady down at Juma in the form of Trishala.
Yes, I am another human being. It's me, Trishala. I hope you're all well. I've swapped places with Koli and we have found some heartbeats in the bush finally. We have some ellies. Oh, there's some tiny ones in there too. Oh, let's listen to them. Now the rumbling you're hearing is actually from the thunder. Exciting. I'm just glad I found something. You can see that they look darker than normal. It's because they're wet. They're not some different species or some different color morph. They're just a little wet. A lot wet, actually. Actually, we just got... Excuse me, gonna wait here and let them all cross. Oh, hello. Trunk up, giving a bit of a sniff, sussing us out. Hey guys, I think we are in your way. You can see there's lots of trunks up. So what we have here is a breeding herd. And that is a herd of females with little ones. Now this big girl here, I think, is the matriarch. Now what will often happen when they start to move, you'll see the matriarch usually lead them, and then there's also a big female behind that will bring up the rear. There's some really tiny ones in there. Very sweet. Now just around the corner where they're all coming from is a bit of a wallow, you would say, and there's some mud there, so hopefully when they all pass we will go through there and we'll have a look at exactly what they've been doing, and you'll be able to see their prints all in there and possibly places where they've slid, which I think is quite funny. Now there's one more. Oh, hello, handsome. Carol, I'll get to your question in a moment. Just want you to watch. Ah, there you can see they've started eating again. They're nice and relaxed. Now, if you were watching, you would have seen that these little babies, they're about a year or under at the moment, and they were actually trying to grab each other's tails, grab each other around the legs. Very cute, and they're all around us. This is amazing. Now, Carol, you asked if did you hear that? Little bit of a trumpet. I really only hear youngsters doing that sort of thing. Haven't heard a full-blown trumpet from a female, from an adult. Now, Carol, you asked, did something scare these guys? Is that why they're moving so fast? Possibly. When we first noticed them, we heard them quite a bit, and that's how we figured that they were around. And you can see they are running quite a bit, or they're moving much faster than we're used to. You can still see them running behind. And now, Carol, something might have scared them. It might, you know, elephants are sort of a bit, they can be nervous. So sometimes it's stormy, it's rainy, the weather is like this, they might get a bit more agitated. And then, of course, we know that they've been mating as well. So it's all that to think about. So something could have scared them, definitely. But whether it was actually a threat, don't know. But they have moved off very quickly now. It's amazing that an elephant can move off really quickly and you won't even hear it. And they can pop out of nowhere and you won't even hear it, because they have these big pads on their feet. So even when they kind of bumble down to the dam and they're moving what I would think is fast for an elephant, cannot hear them. Very silent. Cool. Is everyone cleared? Mm-hmm. All are out. Let us move on. Let's see where they were and what they were doing. Yes. So you can see there they were just in a little bit of water and the mud here. Having some fun. I would have thought they were wet enough, but apparently not. They needed some mud as well. Right. Well, you saw what they were doing, and we saw the elephants, which I'm really happy about. In the meantime, let me send you over to Steve while I go look for more heartbeats in the bush.
Welcome back. Well, what a fantastic herd of elephants that was, Trish. And quite often they trumpet like it's just out of excitement. They're just all so G'd up by the provision of mud and the moisture that's around. Elephants love the rain. No doubt the youngsters are probably pushing and chasing each other, and that causes a little bit of a... Anyway, on the microscope, I've managed to grab a little flower from outside, one that I always have to try and remember. I know Judy H gave me the link to find this flower, and it's a very hard one to pronounce. It's called agathocyanthemum. Try to say that 10 times fast. Agathocyanthemum. Well, I've got it on the microscope, and the reason for that is to prove to you that it has been raining here today, because there is a beautiful little droplet of water on the end there, which I'd like you to have a look at. Beautiful water droplets. Senzo was hoping we'd be able to get our reflection in the microscope, but we couldn't really. It's just too small. Beautiful little droplet there on the end of that flower head. But I just saw something moving a moment ago. There was all sorts of little tiny insects moving, but they have gone. They were on the left of the screen, but they've gone now. And it's really special to be able to get this up close and personal with these flowers, to be able to see the smallest of droplets. And see if I can get my reflection in the droplet. No, it's not coming through. It's right in there underneath the lens. But I found another little insect on the outside that I've got on a little blade of grass, that I might show you the size of it before we put it underneath the microscope, so you can get an idea of what it is. And I think it is a nymph of a stink bug, but you can always be my champions out there and can help me identify it. Okay, we take that one off there, and you will see now, we've just got it here. It's just underneath this little bit of finger grass over here. I'm going to just try and position it underneath the microscope. Let's see if we can see what this guy looks like. He's a very pretty little nymph. Now, bearing in mind, everybody, nymphs are essentially just baby versions of the adult. They don't go through the same metamorphosis that some of our beetles, butterflies and dragonflies and the like do. Or not dragonflies, they're a nymph and then an adult. Let me just try and zoom it in. Okay, a little bit off screen. Sorry everybody. Okay, there we go. Just trying to get him into picture. Look at that. Yes. Oh, he's cute. How beautiful is that guy? Now, I'm not 100% sure. Sorry that he's moving so much. I'm just going to leave him there. Hopefully he doesn't move out of shot. But look at those little red spots on the back of his head. Now, I think this is the nymph of a of a stink bug, but I'm not certain. It's the closest I could find to anything sort of like that, and basically a mini version. So a nymph is essentially a non-breeding of a species, and they go from egg to a miniature version of the adults, and they go through many stages of growth before they become the breeding adult, but they essentially resemble the adult. I'm just going to try and move him one more time so he stays in shot, and then I'm going to move my finger so it stops vibrating. Oh, come on, boy. There we go. How beautiful is that? Mary does look like he's wearing robes. You can see the pollen or the reproductive parts of the grass itself, those purple bits off to the side. But how incredible is the shape of this individual's body? It does look to me like that of a stink bug nymph. Still early stages. I got a nice picture that I was able to find in my book of an adult that's actually guarding the eggs, because what stink bugs do, they are bugs, so they don't metamorphosize. They lay eggs, the egg hatches into a mini version of the adult, and then that becomes many, many stages, or instars, whatever you want to call it, before they molt eventually and become an adult. And I've got a nice picture here in my book to kind of give you an idea, and it's why I figured it must be a stink bug. And here we've got it here in the book. Here's the adult over here. Here are all the eggs that she's laid on the underside of a leaf, and there are the little nymphs moving around doing their thing, and they do look quite similar to the one we've just looked at, but albeit it could be a different species altogether. All those eggs. See how quickly these things can actually, sorry about the light there, see how quickly these things actually can reproduce. So you can see the broken eggs on the bottom where they've hatched. They've actually cut themselves out beautifully, and then all of the other ones, you can see these ones over here look like they're about to hatch, in fact, with a little ripeness, almost little red spots happening there. Very, very cool to see. So the small micro or macro world of the insect world is easily brought to you and to your screens by the use of technology such as the microscope, which I think is very, very cool. Well, Lauren, the Marshmallow Club you have joined. You are now the queen of the Marshmallow Club. Only day 2. I'm not going to boast and say it took me 3 months to still not get stuck. But anyway, good luck with the oncoming rains, and good luck finding the sausage tree bride.
Queen. Why don't we settle with princess? So it's not quite Taylor's level, but why don't we settle with princess? Marshmallow Princess Lauren. I like it. Yeah, I really like it. I can work with that. We've got Princess Kate, Princess Megan now, and now we have Princess Lauren. Okay, I can work with that. So we're just giving you a beautiful view of the landscape right in front of us. We are deep along this track, and we haven't had any luck with the sausages, I'm afraid. It has not been easy. However, we're going to keep looking, and we are going to traverse along the area where the albino cubs could possibly be. So you never know, we still have time, we're not giving up, but I just wanted to give you a really good look of this landscape in front of me. Sometimes we forget to give you that look. Sometimes we're so focused on finding things for you, because obviously that's what we're here to do. But being on the safari with us isn't always about finding things. It's also about just enjoying the view and the landscape, which, as I've mentioned so many times, I know I'm being a bit repetitive, it is so breathtaking. And I did get asked by someone yesterday, I think it was James, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me, what it smells like. As you know, I think it's synesthesia is what I have. So when I see something and I smell something, I relate it to a colour. No idea why I do it. I'm going to drive as I talk. And someone asked me, so what does Amara smell like? Is it different from Juma? And yes, as I've now started to adjust, and I managed to sleep last night, finally, and it's a very yellowy colour, a bright sunshine yellow. It's not green like you would think it would be. Our mind would automatically think green because we're surrounded by green, and then when you see the ocean, you automatically think blue because the ocean is blue. But no, I smell yellow, bright yellow, and it's a fantastic smell. It's so fresh and it's so lovely. And funnily enough, I'm actually just going to come out of low range, bear with me. Yesterday, we were actually showing you guys some hyenas. Woof! the smell, oh my goodness. I mean, they are my favorite animal and I love them a lot and I give them a lot of credit. I talk about them in all sorts of different aspects of their life, but whew, the smell from the Happy Zebra Clan yesterday was incredible. We weren't quite live when I got that whiff in my nostrils, but whew, hyenas, you guys are very smelly. So anyway, it's a wonderful smell out here and it's just an incredible landscape. I don't think I could possibly ever get bored of this. So that is the update from our side. No luck with the sausages, but good news for many people that have been wondering. Patrick will be joining me up here very, very soon. He's disappeared back to Australia for a while, but he is going to be joining us. So the two of us will be out here trying to find as much as we can. So the Princess Marshmallow is going to send you down to the Queen Marshmallow in Juma.
We've got a tortoise and some doves and all sorts of wonderful things walking across the road. Well, the doves have flown away. Luckily, the tortoise cannot fly. Thank goodness for that. Hello, not Gregory, the speaks-hinged tortoise. No, not taking its chances with us. Rather going to go back to the other side. Yes, quickly run before I come and get you, tortoise. I'm coming. I have no idea. Look how far away we are from that tortoise. I have no idea why it's terrified of us. A bit silly, but anyways. Is it going to wait there and hide away until we go past? I'm not going to be able to show you it again because we've got the roof on. It started raining for a little bit, but now it's letting up. Where'd you go? Oh, it said this tortoise's name must be Tundi as well. Hey, Craig. This is just vanishes. Okay, off we go. So, I think we've answered the question before, hey Craig? I think we did that whole thing about, from Ravinda, about what nocturnal creatures come out when it's raining. I'm sure I answered that when we were in quarantine. Anyways, so I was going to tell you something. I haven't told anybody yet about the Nkuhumas, hey? No, I haven't. The Nkuhumas are on Little Gowrie somewhere, so they snuck all the way through Djuma. And I think they must have caused a bit of chaos around Chitwa Dam last night because all the animals are very spread out. I was going to show you 1 zebra and 3 waterbuck when last we left them. There were about 5 million waterbuck and 2 zebras, so I don't know what happened there. I also can't really hear the guys on the east on the radio very well, so they were trying to give me an update, but I shall have to ask them all a little bit later. So we're going to carry on looking for anything that wants to show itself. So I'm just going to drive up and down on all the roads in Chitwa. We've done quite a few already. We found... Actually, well, we did. We found the tortoise, so that was good. I mean, we've got that going for us. Now, the rest of the things can all come out now. I'm hoping that Tingana just steps out on the road in front of us. That would be really great. And we can watch him. Ooh. James, I can indeed share a story about a sloth bear. I only saw sloth bears 3 times while I was in Sri Lanka, and they're pretty elusive creatures, and there's a certain time of the year that you can go to see them sort of very well. So if you go during May, June, July, that's the best time because that's sort of fruiting season for the Indian ironwood tree and the wera tree. So that's when the bears will go and eat all the stuff. But so I had this really interesting sighting one day. This is quite cool. We'll do story time while I drive and look around, and we'd found leopard tracks, so we followed them. Now, you can't get out and track because in a national park, you have to stay in the vehicles. So, driving around, following the leopard tracks, then we could see clearly where it had caught something. And I'm assuming it was a spotted deer because there were a lot of spotted deer tracks. And you could see the chaos on the ground, then you could see where this leopard had dragged the kill just off and into the jungle, so we couldn't see it any further. So I was like, wow, this is pretty epic. This thing must just be inside there. And then we drove it a little bit further. Then we saw sloth bear tracks. And the sloth bear tracks come out and come around and then go up and along the same animal pathway straight towards where that leopard had dragged the kill. And those sloth bear tracks were fresher. Now, sloth bears are known to scavenge on carcasses. I never saw it, so it's just what everybody else says. But that'd be really interesting because the leopard tracks then came out and went a little bit further down the road, a couple of 100 meters, and killed another deer. So the sloth bear must have stolen the kill, or at least chased the leopard off of the kill so that it could feed on it, which I thought was pretty epic. I mean, we can't confirm this, we can only speculate. That's what the tracks look like, you know, that's what it kind of said. So I thought that was pretty awesome to sort of see. I would have loved to have watched that sighting, but they've got restrictions on when you can drive and you can't go in there at night at all. What else happened with the sloth bear? I had one really cool sighting. We got stuck with a musk bull, an elephant, while we were in Sri Lanka. Then we were a little bit late coming out of the park, and we saw a very famous sloth bear by the name of Ballsy. He's like an old man and he has a bit of a limp, and he was quite cool. He was super chilled. He was like stood right next to the car. I don't know if I have a video on my phone because I took a lot of the videos off of my phone because I was running out of space, so I'll maybe have to share one a little bit later on social media. Otherwise, if you scroll on Instagram, I did put a video up of a sloth bear. That was Ballsy, old man. He's really cool. So yeah, they were really amazing creatures. I'd love to go back to Sri Lanka during May, June and July and keep away from Yala National Park completely and go into Wilpatu National Park, which is actually one of the best places to go and see sloth bears. So that's something I would very much like to do. In countries, which I think is amazing. I think that's really, really special, because if you see them, they look so weird and like out of proportion. How does that then climb a tree? So I'd like to see that. Wonderful. Well, having a and next we're going to do that. If we go to Trishala.
Well, I have found another heartbeat, though small. We have found a bee fly. Now you can see why it's called a bee fly. We're not sure exactly which species, but it definitely is a bee fly. You can see the wings are sort of on the side instead of on the back, and you can kind of see the coloring, and you can see that it's basically trying to mimic a bee, and that happens often with flies actually, because bees are something that predators don't like to take too often, and the more flies that have the coloration similar to the bees are less likely to get eaten, and so then those genes get passed forward. Very cool. So what he's doing there now, bee flies are important pollinators, but you can see that he's not exactly pollinating right now, is he? Or taking nectar. So what is he doing? First I thought he was just kind of resting, which he very well could be doing, but also there'll be little droplets of water all along the plants, and you can suck up some water as well. I think very, very cool. Now, flies are often pests. Everyone thinks, oh, horrible fly, and I can tell why. I used to dissect sharks, and obviously flies were always around, and massive flies. So it's actually nice to see one that's a little bit different and has this nice coloration. It's actually nice to look at. Also like the brown sort of caramel colored hairs all around them. Now, why are insects hairy? Insects and spiders, lots of things are hairy, and that's because those hairs give the insect information. Not much like our hairs, which don't do anything at all, they just kind of grow. But these hairs can give information about the environment around them. So all very, very important. Like I said, flies are pollinators, and they are of ecological importance. They're not just pests, not just after your rotting meat. In fact, I had a nice... Kalpana, do bee flies produce honey? No, I don't think bee flies produce honey. Not all bees produce honey. Obviously, honeybees would produce honey, but not all flies produce honey. A lot of them are important, like I said, just because they need to be able to pollinate. So can you imagine if a fly that sits on carrion and rotting meat suddenly went home and produced honey, and then we ate it. Not sure how that would go down. Well, it seems that Taylor has found herself a flying creature as well. So I'm going to leave my flying creature and move on.
We're never leaving this road. We're just going to drive up and down it, Trishale, because it seems like this is where all the content is at this morning. So we've got a red-billed hornbill digging in some poop. Very nice. Hey, Craig? Are you jealous of that hornbill? Tasty. Fergalicious. Not Fergalicious. Fergie says that. Oh, you got a little beetle. Now, of course, most of you know exactly why this hornbill is digging through the dung, because if you watched me on bushwalk yesterday morning, you would have seen I did the same thing, and I found all sorts of beetles in there, except I didn't eat any of them. Thank goodness. I wasn't that hungry, although it came close, though, because I didn't have macadamia nuts and pecan nuts and cashews and cranberries to keep me satisfied. Craig, how were your nuts? Were they good? You're all right? Craig does not rate the nuts very well. We'll have to tell our supplier that they were unsatisfactory. However, I wish I could ask this hornbill how it was enjoying its breakfast. I'm sure it's having a grand old time. And you are very soggy. Bird? Shame. It's not going to dry anytime soon. I actually been watching as we've been driving around. There's lots of birds perched up, but unfortunately at the tops of the trees, which makes it difficult for us to show you. And they all look like drowned rats, all of them, just like this hornbill over here. And there isn't much of a breeze either, so it's not like they can even air dry themselves. So they're going to have to wait and be all miserable and cold. Or they can just be like this hornbill and dig through a pile of poop and have a wonderful day. There was also a tortoise, another one, but it disappeared. You can now hear the thunder as well. Ravinda, I didn't actually try many wild fruits while I was in Sri Lanka. It wasn't the right time of the year. What I did try was the wood apple. I actually think the wood apple was the only fruit that I tried. It was interesting. I don't even know how to describe it. The smell was weird. It smelled like bubble gum and fruit. No, that's not what it smelled like. But it was an interesting sort of thing. It was nothing like I've ever smelt or tasted in my entire life. So that was quite cool. And then, yeah, that was really it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try anything else. I'll have to go back and go during fruiting season because I think it would be really nice. Craig, I think I found something else, but it could also be bird poop. I think I'm going to have to reverse slightly. Let me see. Oh, no, maybe not. It's there. I think on that leaf. When we go, can you see the brown thing? Hang on. It's there somewhere because I can still see it. Wait, hang on. You know what it is, Craig? Let me go forward a little bit because I think the leaf might be curled. Okay. Can you see it? It's here. There. That thing. What do we got? Have we got caterpillar or poop? We've got poop and a fly. That's what we've got. We've got no caterpillar. I don't even know who's done that. That's an interesting shaped poop, don't you think? I'm sure you're all loving this morning. I bet there's a few of you that are going, why are they always talking about dung? Because there's nothing else to talk about when it's raining, so you just have to deal with it. Hey, Craig. Okay, we're going to carry on now. Bye, poop. Let's go look for something else that has a heartbeat. Sorry, hornbill. You can come back and enjoy your dung in a bit. Okay. What else we're going to find? I mean, to me, it would be perfect for something like a leopard to come on out. I mean, the fact that they're not, I think it's very selfish of the animals this morning, because I've been around here, driving around, getting soaked, and the animals probably being a lot more intelligent than us and hiding away, right? Steve, however, got lucky this morning, and he's in the tent. He's working that microscope and talking about all sorts of wonderful things. Hopefully he'll tell you something funny next.
hiding away inside the tent. Senzo and I are the smartest animals today. Hey, Senz? Only joking, everybody. Well, I was talking a little bit before. We've actually got another flower under the microscope. There's an insect moving around a bit. But while we wait for the insect to pop back into frame, we were talking a little bit about nymphs and pupas, and maybe it's a bit confusing for some of you back home. So be prepared to take a screenshot over here. This is the general life cycle of an animal that is called hemi-metabolic, which means it doesn't go through sort of a stage of a pupa. It doesn't go through metamorphosis. The eggs will get laid. The eggs will hatch into tiny versions of the adult. They'll go through many stages of resembling the adult. Sorry, Sensor, I move it like that. Thanks. Till eventually they become the adult, they mate again, and the cycle continues. So the entire process is the nymphs resemble the adult all the time. There's not too much in the way of differentiation. Okay, and they live in either the same environment or they are separated in space. And then you get the holometabolic, which we've got on the bottom of the page here, which is characteristic of beetles, butterflies and the like, whereby you've got the eggs. The eggs hatch into tiny little caterpillars. The caterpillars go through a number of stages, and eventually they will form a pupa with silk in some form of cocoon or inside in the dung ball, whatever it might be, and they'll metamorphosize out as a completely different looking organism, going from a caterpillar to a butterfly, for example, or from a larvae, which looks like a really strange looking thing you saw with that wasp, to a fully fledged wasp. So these are important to understand how these life cycles work, and obviously each species has got slightly different, but 4 stages: 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the holometabolic, and in the hemimetabolic you've got 1, 2, and 3. So I hope that works for you there. Well, we're going to wait for our insect to materialize back on the screen over here, because we've got a really nice flower under the microscope with moisture. It's a very strange insect, so I want you to help me identify. But in the meantime, let's go to Trish, who's found a bird.
It looks haunting. I've got some really cool birds right here. Now, before we get into the actual birds, can I just say that this whole image looks so haunting and ominous. I love it. You can see the heaviness and grey clouds going past them, and look at them, the batelier, that's what they are. You can see they kind of have these black coattails coming down the bottom. I love it. I love it. Now, this is quite a curious situation, because it seems like we have 3 adults all sitting upon this dead leadwood. It could be that they all just sat on the same tree, of course, if that's always a possibility. But we do know that there's a nest nearby. But what does that say for the 3rd individual? Unless, of course, they've just come along and took a rest here as well. Well, we're not sure. But it's always nice to see them like this. So it appears that there may be 2 females and 1 male. And they're definitely all mature. You can see that the mature, they all have the mature coloration, which is the obvious coloration that you're seeing right there. Now this one looks a little smaller. But I don't know if that's just because for me he's or she is further away. Now, that one appears to be the male. I'll show you all on this app just now, but let's just watch on the tree for a little bit. So that one appears to be the male, and that kind of makes sense because females tend to be larger, but it's not so obvious with the batelier. The sexes are quite alike, apart from they have sort of just one band of grey that goes across the wings there. You can see feathers are all fluffed up. Now, I don't think they're actually trying to get warm in this way. I think they're trying to dry their feathers. They've probably been soaked by the rain. Oh, yes. You look like you're full of water. Look at that stunning beak. Now, it could also be that these three have spotted something. Maybe they've spotted something dead and have decided to hang around here. It's just another vehicle going past. Not an earthquake, don't worry. Ah, and the other two, or at least the other one, looks like a female. You can see one with the wings spread out there. Yes, definitely trying to dry off wings. It's always... Oh, and there goes the other one.
Two males.
Good news says every now and then you do need a bath. It's not a bad idea. It's always a good idea to have a bath. Always a good idea to have a bath. So that's really nice because you can see the bird on your right has a thick black band on the bottom of his wing, and that would indicate it's a male. And then the one on the left has a thin black band, so that would be a female. So it looks like we have two males and a female. What could be going on? Maybe this is just a great tree to be perched on, and it's in the right vicinity. It's near the nest. Two of them got you. Maybe there was just another individual here who also thought it was a good place to dry their wings. Feathers. Oh. You looking for a cuddle? No, too close for comfort. I'm not happy with you being there. Very cool. So I was speaking about feathers, but I'll get into that when we return from Steve, who desperately wants to show you something in his microscope.
Well, Trish, well done on finding them. I actually saw those three battaliers together. I think you're on Leadwood Road. I saw them together the other day as well. I thought it was quite strange to find three adults together in a tree. Doesn't really make any sense. Last year I remember seeing two males fighting. They come at each other and they do all of these sort of battles in the air as they vie for territory and vie for females. And why they're hanging out together is very, very hard to say. Another way to identify them when you're seeing them, you'll see the males have got a white shoulder, and the female's got the white shoulder and also the white miniskirt. So when they're sitting on the side, that's something you can see rather than just having to look underneath. You'll see the female's got two bands. He wears a waistcoat, she wears a bikini top and a miniskirt. Good to know. Okay, well, underneath the microscope, we have got a very pretty flower called the yellow mouse ears, or one of the comelinas, the yellow wandering Jew. And if we look at it underneath the microscope, we'll see that it is actually got lots and lots of moisture on it. But the insect that I was hoping to find has decided to move. I don't know where it's gotten to, but it was inside the moisture that you can see there. But look how wet everything is. I find it so amazing. Well, I don't know why it's jumping. There seems to be a bit of a jump with the light happening here. But beautiful, beautiful moisture in this little yellow flower. It's nice to get right up and close and personal. I'm just going to try and reposition again so you can actually see the flower heads there. Those are on the left of the screen. Those are the pollen heads. Oh, it's not working very well. I might be a little bit too close. Let's just go back up a little bit, and then I love how the moisture comes through. Now let's see if we can get those anthers in. Not showing very well. Oh, there's an insect underneath the leaf on the bottom right. There we go, look at that. That looks like a little mite of sorts. Oh, he's gone. But incredible how long the hairs are. If you look at the leaves on the right hand side, you'll see how long those hairs are, in fact. And when you look at them close up, you can kind of see them. But we were discussing on the school drive earlier how all these hairs have the benefit of absorbing moisture and also maintaining a little bit of a moisture layer over the surface. If you've got a flat surface without any hair, wind blows along and you can lose moisture very quickly. But by having small hairs, particles along the surface, it increases the surface area, which decreases the amount of evaporation that happens on there, because it almost holds like a little bit of a sort of network of air around there, almost like what happens when we get cold. Our hair stands up. It's the same sort of purpose, and flowers have them as well, as we've seen in all of the leaves we've looked at. Even the most hairless of the leaves we look at are very, very spiny in the macro world, should I say, but very, very pretty indeed, this yellow wandering dew under the microscope. So the insect I kind of thought I was looking at, I couldn't get a good look at it. It kind of looked like a stonefly kind of insect, but I couldn't find anything in here without little long tail-like filaments to the bottom of the bum. And with these stoneflies, mayflies, none of them go through the same metamorphosis that you see. They go straight through. There's no change. Basically, they hatch from an egg looking just like the adult, and they become the adult later on. They just molt many, many, many times. There's no change at all in what they look like. They're just very, very mini versions of the adult, whereas the hemimetabolic, they slightly change. They might get more legs, they might get a little bit more sort of shape and size, and they might even develop wings. But these guys, I'm not sure if it was. Hopefully he's going to pop back up on screen. But for now, he's hidden. It was beautiful. It was the same color as the flower, beautiful yellow coloration. It was just moving around just here in this little water droplet over here, but now he's gone. Very interesting. There's so many little things moving around in there that we just can't capture with the microscope. Maybe we should talk to James about getting a more sort of in-depth microscope. I know Seb was showing us something the other day with insects and the microscope, and I definitely think James is excited about us getting one of those. Can you imagine getting even more macro in the lens to see the really, really, really small things? But once again, not something that Lauren's going to need. And just before we go further up to Lauren, let's just note, Lauren, you are only part of the Marshmallow Club if you get stuck and can't get out yourself, if someone has to come and pull you out. So you survived. At least she knows the rules of the game now. But anyway, an animal that never gets stuck in the mud. Lauren has found some ginormous elephants.
Earlier, but here we actually have a herd of elephants at completely different sizes. So this is most likely different age groups, and the biggest one is of course the one on the left here, which is munching quite happily on the grass. There we go. Look at the size of the tusks on you. Wow, wowee. And of course there's some young ones there as well. So most people assume that the sort of biggest elephant, the young one was just playing with the bird. I think it was a cattle egret. What are you doing chasing the birdie? Young elephants can be so playful. So yeah, a lot of people assume that the biggest elephant is the matriarch, and it's actually very difficult to identify the matriarch unless you actually take a long time to study the herd and the dynamics, and then you probably can figure it out. But looking at a herd like this that we've just encountered, it's actually almost near impossible to say who the matriarch is. It isn't always necessarily the biggest female. It should be the oldest female. And the older the matriarch, actually, every family that will reproduce within that herd will do so at a faster rate, because older matriarchs are said to be much more knowledgeable, have much better leadership skills. If the matriarch is indeed older and stronger, the families are said to reproduce faster and thrive more in the environment, which I just find extremely interesting. Now, when a matriarch passes... Are you still playing with that little bird? There is a bird in the grass there. I think this young elephant is just having a great time chasing it and terrorizing it. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, what was I saying? So obviously matriarchs will pass at some point, and it's a really hard time for a herd to get through that. It's really difficult. They will grieve a lot, and they will feel very unbalanced because there's no leader within the herd. And it does actually take time for a new leader to emerge. There's lots of studies done on elephants, especially in Botswana. And say, for example, if the herd actually had more than one female of a similar age that are the eldest, then obviously they have potential to both be the matriarch. So the herd might actually split into two, or even more, potentially, new families. They might not stick as one herd. And they could still be very close. They will still have a relationship and join up from time to time, but they may split, and some may go with one matriarch and some may go with the other. But the point that just fascinates me about these incredible animals is that they have such different characteristic traits, such different personalities. So some females will take on the role of matriarch with such wholeheartedly, if you like, and they will be really strong and confident leaders, and they will lead the herd to have a wonderful, successful life. But others can actually be really nervous and sort of less vigilant, if you like, and they may not exactly lead the herd to thrive and succeed. So the herd's success is really all down to the matriarch, which I just find really powerful. It's really wonderful when you see female elephants. You normally see the males kind of tussling and fighting and doing what boys do. But when you see the females, you really realise the power and strength within a female elephant and the lifestyle and the way that they lead their lives. And of course, not all females will actually become the matriarch. Some may never step into that role, but they will all follow the matriarch and be led by her. Diane's asking about comparisons between the elephant size in Djuma and Mara. Now, what I can say from my very short time of being here in the Mara of 2 days, I don't particularly see a difference. They do have very different diets, so it is quite not really comparable in terms of diets, as it is said for the Mara elephants, they sort of feed on grass about 80% of the year, possibly even a little bit higher than that, because there is so much grass. It's a different landscape. But Djuma elephants are said to sort of feed on grass, maybe an 80-20. They feed on trees and shrubs about 25% of the time in summer, and probably about 75% in grass. But then when winter comes along, they have to completely flip that. So they will maybe rely on grass less than 20% and trees and shrubs higher than 80%, depending on the season. Whereas the Mara, it's all year round. So this actually affects their teeth, believe it or not. The Mara elephants are said to live longer because their teeth are not so worn down, Diane. But in terms of size, I really don't see a difference. Not yet, anyway, not personally. And as many of you know, I have a lot of experience with Asian elephants. I spent 8 years in Asia, and that's where you see the difference. There's such a huge differences between the Asian elephants and the African elephants. But no, personally, I don't see any size difference between these African elephants in Djuma and in the Mara. They are all just equally huge. And when you see them sort of on the horizon like that, if you like, it's just, I don't know, it's incredible. Just seeing the line of elephants all dotted along the horizon. Now we are in the middle of nowhere, shall we say. Manu suggested we take a road that isn't very well traversed. Roma's asking about, I think, herds without a matriarch. Now, I actually read a book on this recently. It's a beautiful book called Beyond Words, and it is all about elephants and their life with matriarchs and just exactly how they survive, how they live their life. And the matriarch is so crucial. There has been herds known to survive without a potential matriarch, but it's actually very rare. They need a leader. That is how elephants survive. That is how their social structure is. You have some animals that are solitary, some that live in clans, some that live in packs, but elephants live together and they need their matriarch. They need a leader. The matriarch is potentially the oldest, the most knowledgeable, but the most experienced. The matriarch will lead the herd from food source to water source safely, away from danger. And they use their incredibly powerful memory to create like a mind map, if you like, to know exactly which areas will flourish, using knowledge from years ago, not just from last year. Oh, this was a really good area for yummy, yummy grass last year, let's go. No, that's not how elephants work. They will pull up their knowledge over the whole of their life and work out which areas are more sustainable and stable. So there has been records of herds floating randomly without a matriarch, but they're not very successful in life. So generally elephants, female elephants we're talking about, of course, not the bulls. It's a different scenario for the bulls. They really do need that matriarch, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about the reliance on the matriarch that's very heartwarming. So from the giant land animals of the Mara, while we traverse in the middle of nowhere, we are going to send you back to Steve and his microscope.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm just trying to get this individual under the camera. He is a very interesting, under the microscope, should I say. He's a very interesting beetle. I've never looked at one under the camera, under the microscope before, and it's quite interesting actually to see the colors on his body. So we can jump onto the microscope now, if you don't mind, Nina, and we're able to see very interesting shape and his mouth parts there. Ooh, sorry about that. I had it focused, but he keeps moving. Now, this is in fact one of the carcass beetles, or carrion beetle, and they're actually often found on carcasses. Sorry about my bad focusing there for a moment. And they're able to feed on bone and flesh and meat, animal droppings, even able to digest and absorb keratin. And I found this guy now on one of the kudu horns outside, feeding on, no doubt, on the keratin of the horn, which is quite incredible. It's kind of one of those niche markets when it comes to food, and that you're able to feed on things that many other organisms are not able to feed on. Obviously, we know the horn borer moths are able to feed on the keratin, and this individual does as well. So I'm just hoping he's going to move those mouth parts again. Look at them. They are so strange. I might have to just focus again, just to get the front of his face in there. There they come out. Funny little feelers on his head. Look at that. How incredible is that? Now, these are things you'll never see with the naked eye, everyone. It's almost trying to sense his environment and what's going on. Obviously, I've had to put him in a little container because he was moving so deliberately. I couldn't keep him in one place. But there we go. He's tucking himself in again. He's got very strange mouth parts. You see, almost like the mandibles, almost like elbows moving left or right to the head. Yeah, he might be just doing some cleaning of those filaments that were out in the front of his face. It seems like it from the side. He's just giving his bristles a little bit of a wiping, and hopefully he'll stick them out soon. But a very cool insect nonetheless, and known as carcass beetles, as I said, and they're very common in dry savanna. And the larvae actually form in vertical burrows, generally below the food source. So it's possible that even around the kudu carcass or the kudu skull that we've got here, they might have reproduced and left. There we go, it's coming out again. They might have reproduced and left the larvae in the ground, which then have come out of the ground, pupated, and then gone in to feed on the carcass. I remember the life cycle of, I actually have no idea. I have absolutely no idea how long one of these can live for. They're definitely not the shortest living of our insects. They go through a few life cycles or a few life stages. So from weeks to months, I would suggest, but I honestly don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. There's not too much information in the book about this individual, and specifically with regards to age. But we do know that insects have got far shorter life cycles than we do, and they often have very sort of huge blooming periods now after the rains, after our wet season, when lots and lots of the beetles, bugs, all sorts of things will come out as adults, and then laying eggs potentially for sort of waiting until next season. for the wet season once again. So quite often they will die off after laying eggs, but I'm not 100% certain if this individual will do the same. But there we go. He's giving us one last look of his very strange looking face. I'm going to go put him back in the garden onto his source of food, and we're going to go to Trish, who's got an animal also with a very strange face.
Well, I have found another heartbeat, and it is a young-ish male, probably around 20 years old, a young bull. Now, do you remember we were with James yesterday, and we also had a very nice bull around this area of a similar age, and I feel like this bull also is very relaxed, very calm, knows exactly who he is, as James said yesterday. Very nice. But it's not the same individual. The one we saw yesterday had a missing tusk, and this guy has got both his tusks. You can see that he's got sand all over him that's kind of dried. He's obviously been down to the nearby watering hole, probably Buffelshoek watering hole, and has got himself a bit muddy, and now it's all kind of dried off a bit. But he's also thrown some sand onto him, which is what's giving him that kind of rusty color, I suppose you can call it. Francis, you want to know if elephants sleep standing up or laying down? Actually, or lying down. Actually, elephants of all ages will lie down to sleep, but they don't do it for very long. An elephant only actually gets about, I think it's 3 to 5 hours of REM sleep in about a week. So that is very little deep sleep. But they do catch naps all the time, little cat naps sort of. I've seen an elephant bull having a nap resting his head on a termite mound before. So they can nap like that too. But elephants of all ages will lie down to sleep. Nice. It's always nice to see a trunk stretching up. It's not full stretch. When you see a trunk full stretch, it's quite a sight. Sharon wants to know, what do we do if an elephant starts to charge you? Well, there's a couple things that happen before that we've got to be really aware of. And those few things are, of course, being able to read the animal's behavior, being able to assess the situation. So if there's calves around, and if there are cows, the female elephants around, then we become a little bit more sensitive, because then you have that whole maternal protection that is also going to play a role in whether the animal is likely to charge or not. Now, charging is the last thing that will happen. Before that, there's a whole lot of other things that will happen. You may get little bits of signs that the elephant will show. Sometimes they curl their trunk over one of the tusks. But like I said, you have to assess the whole situation, because I've seen elephants curl their trunk around their tusk, and it's not in an aggressive way. So we have to think about that as well. Then you'll also get the elephant kind of lift up one leg and swing it a little bit, sort of like it's unsure. It's still unsure about us, and it's still trying to determine exactly whether we are a threat or we're just here to observe. Then, of course, when the elephant does decide that we are not welcome, they'll display to us, pick themselves up, head up, ears out, and it's showing us the best version of themselves that they can. The biggest version of themselves, basically. Okay, so can you see now how he's got his trunk a little bit curled, and he's swinging his... Oh, see, this is exactly the kind of thing that will happen. But like I said, this is a young bull, and a young bull is the least of a threat to us. They have a bit of bravado. They want to show off just a little bit. Like you saw there, that was a great example of a display. It was not... You can get much worse than that, but this is quite typical. That is quite a typical display. And then when the elephant actually decides that it wants to charge you, it'll tuck away its most important limb, which is in fact its trunk. Well, so the books say. I've never actually been fully charged by an elephant, but the books say that the trunk, because it's so important to their survival and, well, their niche, they have the only things that have this trunk they can pick things up with, they'll tuck it in underneath themselves in order to protect themselves when they come charging at you. But I was lucky enough, or am lucky enough, to never experience that, which I'm very, very grateful for, because there's only one outcome. Yes. Nobody wants to be fully charged by an elephant. Nobody. Can you imagine? That's 5,000 to 6,000 kgs hurling themselves at you. Wouldn't want that at all. Well, I'm going to leave this guy to feast a little bit. The grass is green and fresh. In fact, maybe we'll get a last look at him. He'll be chomping down really nicely. So in the meantime, he'll carry on his day, and we will send you over to Taylor, who's looking in the bush. Sorry about that, Paul.
Well, Trish, I'm glad you're having all the luck with the elephants this morning. We've got a cuckoo. Don't you fly. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Jacobin's cuckoo. I only saw it for 2 seconds, but it looked very much like a Jacobin's cuckoo. I didn't see much streaking on the breast. Did anyone see much streaking on the breast? I didn't. It was also very soggy, though. So sometimes when the feathers are wet, it make fake stripes. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I think it was one of them. But anyways, it's a cuckoo of some sort. I've been trying to put a African cuckoo on camera for like the last couple... No, when Craig since not yesterday, the day before. But we haven't been very successful. They keep flying away. Those are sneaky ones, those. So what we're going to do now is go back towards the open plains near camp and see if we can find Tundelicious again. But I doubt it. I mean, we're really just going to drive around in circles, and if she's there, she's there. So we had something interesting happened to us a little bit earlier. We were driving, not seeing anything. And then Craig said, "There's a snake." So I reversed back to see where the snake is. The snake, it was not a snake. There was no snake. It disappeared, and we think it was a caterpillar. Anyways, he can't defend himself. Right, off you go to the Mara now. Lauren has finally found her jackal. Hopefully it will still be there by the time you also go to Mara.
So we managed to find some jackal again, and for some reason these lovely animals never get boring for me. I don't know, I find them exciting every time we see them. We've got 3 ahead of us. They were actually having a drink in a sort of puddle that we've got up ahead. I'm not even going to contemplate how I'm going to get across that. But for now, let's just admire the jackal. And there was another one that went off in a different direction. So how lovely. Now, to me, these animals just seem so small and so timid. I'm actually really looking forward to the day that we're able to sort of see them hunt and feed. I've not seen that yet, and I think that will actually show us exactly sort of where they get their wily reputation for. I mean, they are known for really thriving in harsh environments and being really strong. They've been incredibly small animals, and these ones are particularly small. They are actually highly adaptable and resourceful, not quite unlike the hyenas, and they can actually live in such a broad spectrum, if you like, of habitats. So from the case of yesterday and today, I have been very lucky with my jackal sightings. Now these ones are going off into the distance. They're a little bit skittish around the engine, which is why I always stop a little bit further away. But let me see if I can just position the car a little bit better for Manu so he's able to get them again. How's that? Perfect. It's perfect. Let me just put that handbrake on so we don't roll down the hill. There we go. I've got a much better view of them. Yeah, they're very skittish around the car, which is a shame. We obviously don't want to scare them or, make them feel threatened in any way. So that's why I always give the jackal a lot of distance. There are some animals, especially hyenas, that are actually really okay around the cars, and they're very curious. They come right up to the car and they want to know what are you and which planet have you came from, basically. Whereas the jackals are not quite like that. So it's just really important to give the animals space. I'm very aware of that and very cautious of that, even underwater. Because some people just get a little bit too close sometimes. Now, of course, these little animals rely heavily on their sight. Like many of the predators out here, they do rely on their sight. Yeah, Jason is saying jackals look a lot like coyotes. Yes, Jason, I've personally never seen a coyote in real life. Of course, I've seen them in the movies. But yes, I can see it. I see exactly where you're coming from. They do. And not their face, not facially, but for me, the body is very fox-like, just from what I see of the little foxes that do live in our gardens at home. And they do raid your garbage bins, and they make a lot of mess, so they're not popular at home, but I still think they're gorgeous. So yes, maybe a cross between a coyote and a fox, with some other things thrown into the mix, yeah, and you would definitely arrive at the jackals. Now, I was talking about their eyes, but just look at those ears. They're so out of proportion and incredibly adorable. They're massive compared to their small, dainty little face. And you don't even need to guess. That just highlights the fact that they have excellent hearing as well. So they rely primarily on their eyes and ears, and that's sort of how they navigate and survive through their environment. Now, they are walking off, but every so often they do turn back and look at us. Yeah, they do keep looking back at us. They're just not 100% sure of us and what we're exactly doing here. We are in a very quiet area. We did sort of take a track off roads to try and find the Owino cubs. That is our plan. So the jackals probably didn't expect to encounter us here, but here they are. And you know, when they walk through that grass, just like yesterday, you just completely lose them. I mean, you would drive past them, just not even realizing that they're there. Trist is asking, why do they have a stripe down their back? I wouldn't actually call it a stripe, because there is actually a species of jackal known as the side stripe. So this is sort of known as like a saddle. It's mostly covering their whole back, actually, from sort of the side of their rib cage to the other side. And that's where they do get the name black-backed jackal from. So they do look different from the side stripe. And there is no other purpose, just in the fact that that is their design. That is the way they look like, just like we have dogs of different breeds, domestic dogs, that all have different colorations and different patterns. This is naturally, of course, just the pattern of this species. I believe the Latin name is Canis mesomelus, I think. Don't quote me on that. And that is just the name of the black-backed jackal. And that's exactly where they're getting their name from, the saddle of black colour that goes across their back. And black back, sorry. What am I talking about? And they do actually have a black tip on their tail as well, so I don't think we're able to get a good view of the... Oh, we can see it swooshing around, but they do have a very black sort of tip on their tail as well. So that's how you can easily identify these jackals. Now, we've not got a very good view of them at the moment. They really have hidden away down in the grass now. So I think it's time for us to move on and me to figure out exactly how I'm going to cross this puddle. Manu's already laughing, and this rocky terrain is probably going to be very amusing. So do bear with me. Oh, my handbrake's on, isn't it? There we go. So we just have a sort of marshy puddle ahead, and that's exactly what the jackals were drinking out of. Let me just assess the situation. I think we can go straight ahead. What do you think? Manu's laughing, but he's like, yeah, let's try it. It's just a small puddle, so we're just going to go for it. Yay! We did it! Absolutely no drama. It wasn't that bad at all. So while we continue on our way, let's send you back to Steve and his famous microscope.
Lauren is thoroughly enjoying herself on probably my favourite area in the Mara, along the escarpment road there, where all these little springs and puddles are coming out from the mountain. It is really, really, really pretty. Anyway, I've been digging once again in the garden because I like to get my hands dirty. And, well, I found this beautiful piece of wood. And I know early on in the show, it was asked, I think, by for Holly, if we have any wild mushrooms. And most certainly there are many, many mushrooms that grow out here. And this one is growing off of this actual piece of wood that was in the ground. And mushrooms often respond quite quickly to lightning, and we've had a bit of lightning in the last little while. I don't know what kind of wood this is, but there are at least 3 different sort of mushrooms growing off of it, and they are attached to the wood itself. And now fungi, which is essentially the plant, is growing within the soil on the wood itself, and they then reproduce through the mushroom. And the mushroom is in fact the fruiting body, which then releases spores to the atmosphere, which then go and form new fungus sort of areas wherever else they land. And often a lot of these funguses or mushrooms that grow are very sort of specific to the wood that they grow on. In South Africa, we've got a lot of indigenous or exotic trees that have come through, pines and oaks, and we get lots and lots of sort of European mushrooms that grow in the forests, in the plantation forests in South Africa, and a lot of them are edible, but you've got to be very careful when it comes to mushrooms, because mushrooms, if they've got those gills underneath, they're either very magic or they're very wrong for you. And a magic mushroom is essentially a poisonous mushroom that you could eat to a level, but if you ate too much of it, it will kill you. So you must always be very careful. But underneath the microscope, I've gone and shown you exactly what the fungus is. And we're looking at some mycelia growth of how the fungus sort of spreads underneath the soil. And it's this little, we've jumped onto the microscope, you'll see these little white filaments that are growing in underneath and on some bark, and that is essentially the mycelia. And mycelia is essentially a fungus and a symbiotic relationship that happens with many, many plants. This mycelia will actually grow on the roots of many plants, which increases the surface area of the roots for absorption of nutrients in the soil, and also they have the ability to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. So when we often talk about many of the plants such as being legumes or nitrogen fixers, they have an association with a very specific mycelia or fungus. For example, the one we have here, I'm sure someone would probably be able to identify it. I have no idea how to tell which is which, but you often have very species-specific legumes with species-specific mycorrhiza or mycelia, and together they then fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, and that is how fungus gets most of its nutrients. The fungus obviously absorbs the nitrogen, it benefits the plant itself, which then provides it with sugars and foods and the like. And so when these mycelia are ready to produce, they then shoot mushrooms up through the ground, many, many different types of mushrooms, which then obviously are distributed often by wind or even by water or even by certain animals that might sort of carry them along. But I find it quite incredible to be able to look at this little weird little white spot on a piece of bark, and to know that it is such an important sort of element out in the atmosphere that we have, and very cool to get up close and personal. So I've got another mushroom that I'd like to show you. I took one of them off of the tree because I wanted to cut it in half, and let's have a look at this close-up, and then once we've had a look at this close-up, then I'll show you what it looks like under the microscope. It looks kind of I'm not going to eat this, but I was talking about the gills underneath. Can you see there's gills there? Be very careful with any, oh my word, if we can quickly, oh, I've got something walking over the microscope. That was very cool. We had a very small little tick looking like animal. Let's see if I can get him again. He was tiny. Where did he go? There he is. If we can go back to the microscope quickly, Nina. Very cool looking. It looks like actually a spider of sorts. Look at him go there. Now, he is tiny. He is, I can't even see him with my naked eye. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the focus in. There he goes. Look at that. So that is tiny. That is microscopic, everybody. That's my finger on the side there coming in. That's just the tip of my finger. That spider, I don't know what it is, but he's disappeared. Oh, there he goes. Look at him. Look at the legs on the left-hand side of the screen. He's gone now. How awesome was that? Okay, well, I'm going to show you this mushroom that we had. I'm going to show you underneath the microscope to show you how strange it really looks close up. So here is the mushroom here. I'm not going to eat it. Senzo wants me to eat it. He's putting money down for me to eat it. But Senzo, I'm not going to eat it. Okay, so the mushroom under the microscope. Let me just pull this back a bit. Having so much fun. Have a look at that. So those edges that looked a little bit jagged are in fact seriously peeled. Now, a mushroom that's generally new to the world is quite smooth in general, but as soon as they start flaking, getting old, this is kind of how they start opening up. And really interesting to see this so close up like that, to see how many filaments there are there, how many little nooks and crannies there are. Those little purple things are probably pollen or petal pieces from a tree somewhere nearby. No idea. It's just so incredible to be able to get so up close and personal with a mushroom, which we are not going to eat today, Senzo. Senzo wants to eat it, but I don't think we should. The general rule is don't eat a mushroom that's got gills. If it's got sponge, potentially is edible, but be very careful with mushrooms, because, well, unless you want to die, but I'd stay away from them. There are experts out there who know their mushrooms. Even many of the local animals ignore them altogether due to their toxicity. But anyway, let's go back over to Taylor McCurdy, who seems to have finally found herself a nice big elephant.
Yes, you never play around with a mushroom. That's for sure. I feel like sometimes it might be the last lesson that you learn in life, so be careful of them. We've got some elephants. I don't think that they would be too bothered by the mushrooms, as that doesn't really form part of their diet. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe elephants do like mushrooms. Craig, guess what I found? I found your snake. He's just made a sound and went, hey, Craig. Look, here's the snake Craig saw over there. There's one version. Really tiny. That is an inchworm. Hello, inchworm. We'll wait for the elephants to come to us. I've driven through lots of bushes this morning, so you can imagine I've got a collection of insects. And then, Craig, can you see the other one to the left? Quite far, not too far to the left. This is my favorite one. It's got a face on it. Turn and look at us. These are the ones you don't want to touch. Just a reminder, we don't touch the hairy caterpillars. Look how cute that is. Ding, ding, ding. That would look cool under the microscope for Steve, but we're a little bit too far away from that. All just carrying along. And they will be relocated as soon as drive is finished. Or I might flick them off of the car now. Should I do it? No, shame, I won't flick it. Oh, I have leaves that I was going to use, but I'm not going to use them anymore. I can take them off. If you want to watch the elephants as they walk, I will do a quick... Sorry, it landed on me. And I didn't want to get the hairs on me. It's on this. He also wanted the nuts. Be gone. Get out of the car, because you're going to end up in someone's shorts. We don't want that. Inchworm, you all can also go. They're the elephants. They're very happy. I wonder how often elephants have caterpillars on them. Because, I mean, they're brushing through the trees all the time. They must get all sorts of insects crawling around on their bodies. Not that I think that they'd be perturbed by a caterpillar, or a hairy caterpillar would have much of an effect. Oh, no. Craig, look at that impala. Sorry. Something is wrong with this impala. Its back leg, left leg. Look at that. And it's a youngster. Oh, no. That looks very fresh. Something has tried to grab this impala, or it has broken its leg. I can't really see. Can you hop forward so we can see what is wrong with you? It is a young impala. It's on... It's... Sorry. Getting heavily distracted. It's trying to follow the elephants, funny enough. It was hopping after them, but it's not going to be able to keep up with those large mammals. Oh, I don't know what has happened to it. I don't know if it's a break. Ouchie. That's no good. I don't know if this impala is going to make it. Maybe something tried to grab it and it managed to get away. Ooh. That is terrible, but remember, everyone, we don't interfere with the animals here. This is nature, and it is very sad because it's a young impala, and you can see it's desperately trying to keep up with something. I think it doesn't want to be alone. But the reality is that I don't know if that's going to survive an injury like that. Especially with it being so young. I can't see if it's completely broken, but there's a lot of skin missing there. It's obviously in a bit of pain. It looks like it hasn't happened too long ago. Hopefully, I know this might sound a bit cruel, but I kind of hope that Thandi comes wandering onto quarantine and finds this little impala and just puts it out of its misery. At least it won't go to waste. So, it's very, very sad when things like this happen. You can see, look at it, it's absolutely terrified. I would be too. Oh, that's no good. Please don't follow the elephants, because the elephants are going to lure you right down to a drainage line, and that'll be difficult to navigate through. Oh well. Sorry, little impala. We're going to carry on. We're going to leave the impala. We're going to go this way. Oh. Drive. At least we know Thandi's still alive and well, and still the same. Don't go after the elephants. Oh, I don't know. I wonder where Mom is. I would love to know what exactly went on there. Could maybe the lions had something to do with it, because they came through here last night, so that is also a possibility. Anyways, we'll never really know what happened, will we? But we'll just have to keep on guessing. Craig and I are going to make our way home now because we're hungry and we need a hot chocolate to warm up and a hot shower. Right, we'll see you this afternoon. Well, hopefully we'll be a little bit drier, so join us then for the Sunset Safari.